some say rented crowds, and 8 hopefuls and the entourages, that is in itself a show of force. The candidates can be grouped into 2 unscientific groups, the hugely popular ones and the not so popular, based simply on their crowds. The self-proclaimed Mr. Digitalization, who used to be hailed as economic wizkid Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is considered one of the favorites, and he pulled up at the party headquarters in a manner befitting of that tag.
I want to make Ghana the digital hub of Africa, and that is why I am offering myself to contest in the primaries of this phenomenal party. And inshallah, the President of the Republic of Ghana.
Long before that, the man considered his closest challenger, the former Trade Minister Alan Tremanting, found his nomination with some heavyweight members of Parliament. But the most interesting, perhaps, was Kennedy Agyapong, considered by many to be the dark horse in the race. The research group Global Info Analytics says the data points one of these 3 becoming the MPP's presidential candidate for the 2024 elections. The other 5 in the race would disagree, of course. They include former Agric Minister Dr. Osei Akoto, who claims he managed the agric sector so well he deserves to be president.
The same way I was able to bring agriculture to the front line of policy discussion, it will be the same way that agriculture will be used to take us out of the clutches of the island.
Then there's former Energy Minister Boakye Jarko, who thinks with a level playing field, this is a race he will win.
So long as the rules are clear, so long as there is total fairness, so long as we are all tempered and measured in our statements, I believe that we will have a very peaceful conversation.
The former presidential spokesman says his heart is troubled by the direction the country is traveling, and he's adamant excitable slogans will lead us anywhere in a dig at the current government. Energy expert Kojo Poku is unlikely to figure much in the race, but he wants this to be about ideas and not personalities.
It is not about the personality but ideas. I entreat all my colleagues in this process to make this election about a contest of ideas, a contest to change our party, a contest to change our nation.
There are those also convinced that this should be about place of origin more than anything else.
This time, it's supposed to be a northerner. The accounts should agree with us and ensure, for unity purpose, to make sure Dr. Bawumia is elected.
There will be many who will disagree. So what factors influence a decision on who becomes the MPP presidential candidate?
The first one I would say will be the person's love for the party, demonstrated years before today, not this last minute after picking form, overnight you are becoming the lover of the party, blah, blah. What has been your track record in respect of connection with the grassroots? I've also been hearing the issue of ethnicity, whether this one is of a minority ethnic group or the other is of a majority ethnic group. Sincerely speaking, modern day politics does not encourage or promote any form of sectionalism.
First, though, with 8 candidates having filed their nomination, the party will have to undergo a process they have never been through.
More than 5 aspirants are going to emerge, and per their own constitution, the number of aspirants exceeds 5. We are likely to go for a super delegates conference or congress to trim down the number. I also use the likely advisedly because it's still early days yet. Maybe after vetting, some may decide to pull off the competition, and by that, the number may be trimmed down naturally.
The MPP instituted the Super Delegates Congress after what some called the comical race to replace President Kufuor in 2007, when 17 candidates were on the ballot paper. Well, whoever gets into the top 5, one thing is certain. There'll be many twists and turns, many shades and turbulent times in store for the MPP as some of its most leading figures jostle for the most prized role ahead of the general elections.
Well, this sets the basis for today's conversation. What you just saw. Now the flag bearership race of the NPP is taking shape, at least by close of day today, which is the last day for the filing of the nomination forms. We'll get to know exactly how many of the 11 people. So far we know 9 of them have submitted their nomination forms. Jogate and the last man standing, the former transport manager of the Jubilee House, who sprung a surprise on many people, he is yet to also submit his form. So by close of day, we'll get to know. But what we are talking about this morning here on Key Point is what kind of character would help the NPP, as it were, fulfill that objective of breaking the 8, or the 11 who have put themselves up for the flag bearership of the NPP. This is a conversation this morning here on Key Point. Also, from exactly 72 hours away from now, the Asin North by-election would have started. Polls would open at 7 a.m. on Tuesday. We here on your Election Command Center already started the conversation this morning on Key Point. We're going into that constituency. A number of things happening in the run-up to this by-election, accusations and counter-accusations of vote buying and money sharing becomes really on both sides. But we will show you exactly what the situation is and what the people in Asin North are being called upon to look at, to consider, to vote. Stay with me here on Key Point. Also, over 80% of the teacher trainees who sat for these licensure examinations failed, over 6,000 of them. That has raised fundamental concerns about the quality of the teaching going on at the various areas where these persons receive the teaching or tutorial ahead of the said examination. That also dovetails into the education sector itself, especially basic education and what is going on there. This morning, we'll have a conversation on that. This is Key Point. Together with you and my guest, we shed the light on the key issues that are of concern to you and to my guests. And we go straight to the point here on Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Okanse. Welcome. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. My guest will join me. The conversation begins. Good morning.
My people, Philadelphia, our very own Adansi Travels is 10 years old.
Then this will be a 10-day stay.
That is right. We are going on a 10-day adventure in Dubai on a chartered Emirates flight full of Adansi travelers from 10th to 19th August, and starting from $1,650, you can be part of this Adansi-licious 10th anniversary tour. The rate covers flights, hotel accommodation, breakfast, visa, airport transfer, tours, Travellers. And a dancing at 10 mega party at Dubai Desert Camp with the legendary Samini.
Dancy Travellers Tour. It's a vibe. The 10th anniversary. That will be a part of this.
You can pay a minimum of $500 to book your seat and pay the rest till 15th July. Contact Adansi Travels now on 0595 500 817 or 055 631 0404 to book your spot now. Adansi Travels. Feel life's beauty.
It does get better anytime your favorite shop, Malcolm, says it's there for you and got you covered with all your daily need items. Continue shopping on products ranging from groceries, stationery, electronics, homeware, kitchenware, furniture, home decor, electrical, and many more at low prices. Terms and conditions apply. Malcolm, where Ghana shops.
The TV3 and 3FM Great Expedition is here again. It's much bigger and exciting this time. Experience the breathtaking view of the ever-scenic Kafajato and the spectacular Wuli waterfall. Let's uncover the excitement around these mystical and extraordinary sceneries. Happening on Republic Day, Saturday, 1st July 2023. Come, let's make memories on Republic Day with the Republic Day Reloaded. We head to Kafajato as we hike to the summit. We visit the Wuli waterfall. And then we have a dinner and party at the Bamboo River Resort. This package includes transportation, breakfast, snacks, dinner, music on rotation, plus the whole experience, all for 650 Ghana cedis. For reservation, call 0541 159 715 or 0554 049 778. The TV3 3FM Republic Day Expedition. You don't want to miss this.
Good day, lovely viewers and lovers of Kids Arena.
Social media is a community. Now my office is at Hacho. So in Hacho, we have market here. We have like chiefs, we have police station here. We have churches here. The same way, when you go to the social media community, we have churches. That is why you see a lot of churches go Facebook.
This robot is about Marine. It's supposed to go here to this line.
So underneath the robot. So I can see it's picking up the trash.
They said that there's a problem with my robot and I don't know how to fix it. I've tried everything I could. So I just go on YouTube and look for it.
It's always important to be yourself on social media.
Kids Arena shows Saturdays at 10 a.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
When the Vice President of the United States came down, Kamala Harris, you worked with her.
Did she mention your name?
Oh, she did.
What did she say?
How did she say?
How did she say?
So we spoke about jollof. She wanted me to give her tips on jollof.
Take a small action daily.
Hi, this is Mukasa Sheikh. Join me on Saturday on the Ladies Circle. Waffles. Oh, yeast, flour, butter, sugar,
But she's
vanilla
saying the same
essence.
thing. Have you ever received compliments for good cooking, knowing very well the food was rubbish?
Oh yeah. The promise to be exciting, fun, and delicious.
The Ladies Circle shows this Saturday at 6 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Yaz Sanitary Pad,
Onga,
Yumvita, MTN,
Woodin,
Nivea, for your shade of beautiful.
She originally wanted to be a broadcast journalist. She studied for it, practiced, and eventually ended up on radio and TV. But before all of that, her parents wanted her to study law. She threw all of that away, and now she is into the beauty world.
It wasn't easy. Again, my father wasn't impressed.
He wasn't
with
having
me.
it.
Both he and my mom.
God.
They said, what is wrong with this child? Why do you want to go to fashion? My dad actually said, what do you know in fashion? I said, that's what I want to do.
In 2012, she birthed the brand Selena Babe, and that's our winning woman for the week on Today's Woman. Make a date with me, Cookie T, right here on Saturday, exactly at 3 p.m. on TV3.
Today's Woman, all new season with Cookie T, shows Saturdays at 3 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Latex Foam, Vlisco.
Sometimes it's funny. You see candidates who could not write the exam who go and write, please help me, a teacher will write in the script, help me, my telephone number is this, I'll compensate you. So we will need to investigate. Such candidates are invited and we investigate them, so we withhold their results. Recently, the recent one they wrote, somebody wrote a prophet name instead of writing an essay. He just wrote a prophet's name there, thinking that a miracle will occur for him to pass. By November, they have the chance to sit for the last time for this particular kind of exam. If they are not successful, then they have to transition to the new one that is coming. What makes this one challenging to those people is that some of them might have passed one paper or two papers out of the three. Yeah. But the moment you are transitioning to the new system, the new dispensation, it means you have to forgo those two that you passed or the one that you passed. I don't have any power to stop anybody from going anywhere. But the process is that if you are dissatisfied with the results and you want a remark, you pay your remark fee, and then we give you the chance, and then we appoint neutral examiners.
We need to look at the entry qualification, number one. We look at the training institution. We look at NTC itself. We look at the tech and the student themselves. This is the chain. We cannot exempt anyone at this particular point in time because we want to get it right. And because we want to get it right, we need to look at all the things that happened within the process, and that will help us understand the issues.
Graduates from the colleges of education have to pass the licensure exam.
About the training. There's no doubt at all that our standards of education generally has fallen. Generally, there are very good, excellent results. I've been getting some students from Ashasi, Cape Coast University. They meet every standard, but on the whole, we are having fallen standards. And especially what happened of late, people by correspondence course, Cape Coast University, Winneba, everybody doing some vacation courses, they haven't gone through the rigors of normal academic work to be awarded a degree. And believe it, we in our own school, Ghana Christian International High School, for many years, before we take you as a teacher, we give them that subject area, mathematics or history, the same WASI paper. And believe it, about 1/3 of them fail, and we don't proceed to even interview them. So I think that there's something basically wrong. I believe that we are teaching people, we are in a digital age, teaching them with analog capacities. They have no access to computers. They don't know how to research. Most of this information, I mean, my 11-year-old granddaughter has more access and can do the so-called English and mathematics, which the teachers are failing. So yes, we need to up our quality of our education. I think that it's a shame that overnight, all colleges of education are now universities. They are giving degrees with the same infrastructure, no library. I went to some schools and I wouldn't mention them, and you will weep. What they call a college is actually less than SAR7 school, that means grade 10, which we used to attend in our library and everything else. So we must, but in this case, everyone who has a degree or diploma has no excuse.
Well, so you've heard from a number of stakeholders from what I just played to you, ending with Professor Stephen Adem, who has been credited with quite a good work at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration and educationist himself. Also, Thomas Musa Tanko is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. You heard from him. And then also the Registrar of the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examinations, Dr. Christian Adaipoku, as well. So laying the basis for what we saw, quite shocking statistics of the number of teachers who failed this exam, saying that some of them even wrote the names of prophets in their answer booklet, that, you know, the prophet will come and help them or something. Some of them wrote their telephone numbers as well, so that when the examiner picks it, You can see the telephone number, and you know what they will do eventually. These are the kinds of things that he said and they spoke about. Now, over 7,728 in total. These are the teacher trainees who sat for this exam, and 1,277 passed. And look at the failure, the number of people who failed, 6,451 out of the 7,728. That represents 83.5% failure rate. The success rate was 16.5%. Now, let's look at some of the basic things that the examiners identified as the mistakes. Take a look. Inability of the candidates to understand comprehension passages. Yes. Candidates could not use the appropriate features of an essay, and poor expressions. Now, the spelling mistakes that we saw categorized under poor expressions, and take a look. So, headache, a number of them got that wrong, spelled it this way. Middle, M-I-D-I-L-L instead of M-I-D-D-D-L-E. Then punctual. You see how they spelled it under the wrong spelling category. Motivation. Look at motivation. So motivation is there. And then pocket money, a very typical social media spelling of pocket money. That's what you see there. And these people who sat for the exam, university graduates from the University of Cape Coast and all. And then also a number of them from the College of Education across the country. There's been a research that some educationists have made reference to, that the graduates from the College of Education who sit for this exam actually do well more than the graduates from the universities. That's University of Education, University of Cape Coast, and so on. We'll touch on that. But then there are some basic issues that comes up when you look at the outcome and the details. That we got to know that some of them have sat for this exam 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and they are still failing. So what is the problem? Dr. Clement Apak is the Member of Parliament for the Bosa South constituency, also the Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee of Parliament. He's with us in the studio. Dr. Clement Apak, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Key Point.
Good morning, Alfred. It's been a while.
It has indeed.
It is pleasing to share the panel with a colleague.
Indeed.
You know, I am in absentia, but I still monitor exploits on campus and his own important forays in helping to shape the fortunes of our nation. It is appreciated.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, sir. Dr. Clement Apak, one-time lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon. In fact, in 2008, my first guest on Radio Universe at the time. Also, Professor Ransford Jampo, he just made reference to, is the Professor of Political Science at the University of Ghana, Legon, Professor Ransford Jampo. Good morning. Welcome to Key Point.
Good morning, Alfred. Good to see my senior Dr. Clement Apak here, and just to say that we also admire him from afar, how vociferous he's been and how bold he's always been in articulating issues of national concerns and issues affecting his constituents and all that. So, sir, good to see you.
Well, it's mutual.
Indeed. Also, will be joining us shortly is Martin Pibble. He's a private legal practitioner. It's a leader of one of 3 individual bondholder groups, and then also the convener of the Kumipreko Reloaded demonstration. I would also be joined shortly by the Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party, Richard Ahiagba, would also be joining us in a bit. But let's get into it now, and as we go on, we'll hear from one of the students who sat for this exam and failed, and the reasons why he says a number of his colleagues failed this. In fact, let's take a listen to him, please.
3 papers: essential skills, literacy, and numeracy. This is my 3rd time of writing, and I have been failed 3 times. So I don't know what to do again. Because I still don't have content to read on. About the mass failure of our NTC exams. You see, one of the major points that we fail is that we don't have the content, what to read, as to which area we should read, and the exams that you're going to write. We only know of the 3 categories you're going to write on: essential skills, literacy, and numeracy. But we don't have any content to read on in order to pass the exam. And also, in addition, we don't have we don't know the threshold as to which marks you get to get the pass mark, and as to which marks you get and you fail. So we are lost in the education settings. We are lost. We don't know which area we are going to. I'm preparing, but to rewrite again. I want to be employed as a professional teacher. If not, that is the only option to set up to get.
Well, Dr. Clement Apak, start off with you. I mean, because this licensure exam came to the committee, and some at the point, these trainees were against it, raised concerns about it, but eventually, this is the 5th year, correct, that they've been writing the licensure exams?
Yes.
Now, you look at their failure rate and the fact that some of them have been writing it for a number of times and still failing. What's the problem?
Well, Alfred, let me say good morning to you and my co-panelist, Professor Jampo, and naturally to say good morning to the people of Bristol South. I mean, it is by courtesy of their permission that I sit here as a member of parliament, for which reason I get to be on the education committee, which then allows you to invite me. So I must accord them that needed respect. Alfred, I think I want to start off by indicating that it is not strange or it is not unexpected for persons who sit exams for whatever reason to fail. I don't know of any exam that we can say that those who sit for the exam would all pass. For one reason or the other, you would always have people not doing well. But I think why this issue has become topical is because of the colossal number. I mean, even if you look at the history of the licensure exam itself, year in, year out, it has not always been 100%. But when you have over 80% candidates sitting for the exam, failing, clearly this must necessarily draw the attention of the public and in particular stakeholders in the educational sector. It is important to state that the licensure exam is actually backed by law. If you look at the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020, Act 1023, it gives the National Teaching Council the responsibility of conducting examination for the licensing of persons who successfully complete teacher education programs. It also gives the NTC the mandate to issue licenses to persons who pass the examination conducted by the council in accordance with what I read earlier. So it is something that is backed by law.
Right.
And for good reason. We had made the determination that, like other professions, it was important to start licensing teachers because it is the standard best practice in most parts of the world. So as a nation, we took the decision that we're going to move away from the previous arrangement where when you graduated from a college of education or you did your teaching degree through a university, you were assigned to teach in the classroom without obtaining professional certification. So the purpose of this licensure exam was to allow for teachers to be professionally certified. And of course, it is not in perpetuity. Once you get a license, there is a range that we are required to renew it so that we would be in tandem with what we consider to be best practices.
Right.
Now, having given the background, why this is an issue is not just because of the narrative that we are hearing, which is that, you know, some have taken it 2, 3, 4 times. But it is because these persons who have trained as teachers, and I think it is important to emphasize that point, they have trained as teachers. What they then need is professional certification. So they are not even teacher trainees.
Yes.
They have gone through the mill, so to speak. So if they have gone through the mill, and the mill in this case is basically 2 channels. There are those who go through the traditional colleges of education, and this would include both public and private. And there are those who go through universities that also have programs that have been set up or designed to train teachers. So we have the University of Ghana, the University of Education, Winneba, and then we have the University of Cape Coast. What are the dynamics? The dynamics are that we expect that regardless of what avenue one may have gone through to become a teacher, pending certification to become a professional, you would have acquired the basic knowledge, the skills, and the competence to be able to teach in a classroom. And I think that must be foundational,
right,
regardless of whether you did a degree or you did a diploma. We expect that you should have the basics. Now, for now, the licensure exam is composed of 3 facets: essential skills, numeracy, and literacy. I mean, for the average person, numeracy is mathematics. Literacy is English and related grammar.
Yes.
And of course, essential skills would be to test your capacity in understanding the dynamics within a school system, how to manage a classroom, and all the issues that you would expect a teacher to be able to address if and when they arise outside of the typical academic work, essential skills. So when you have people who ostensibly have gone through primary school, have gone through junior high school, have gone through senior high school, have gone through a university program, through either a distance program to obtain a degree, or have gone through a college of education, 3 years, now 4 years, degree awarding, it then begs the question as to why there is this difficulty in passing the licensure exam. And for me, as a member of parliament, as a member of the education committee, I believe that something is fundamentally wrong somewhere.
So what's wrong? What's the problem?
Well, that's the problem. To be able to find out where the problem is and what is wrong, in my opinion, will require a dialogue, if you like, a hearing by my committee, inviting the stakeholders. So I have proposed that the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Education should convene a sitting and invite the stakeholders, the colleges of education, the universities that the colleges are affiliated with, and the universities that also offer programs leading to the education of people who want to be teachers, the NTC, the National Teaching Council itself, the agency that superintends over and administers the exam, the Ministry of Education, and the Ghana Education Service, so that we can find out where the issue is and why this is happening. Because, make no mistake, we are in dire need of teachers. in this country. As a member of the Education Committee and as a rural MP, I know of the acute teacher deficit that we face as a nation and that the people of Busa South in particular face. So when you have almost 8,000 teachers who could be deployed, and yet over 80% of them have failed, what that means is that the number of teachers available to be deployed to address the already existing teacher deficit is woefully reduced. And so it comes as a cost. It comes at a cost to both the nation and indeed those who take the exam. Mind you, they have to register and pay a fee to take this exam. And whilst we are still waiting to get the breakdown in terms of the statistics of the percentages who have failed and where they are drawn from, we can make the general argument that because the state also subsidizes the training of teachers, there is also a cost to the state. We can say plainly that the state is not getting value for money. And so the issues that this rather shocking failure rate are throwing up are many and multifaceted. And so I believe very strongly that we can only get to the bottom of what has gone wrong by summoning the stakeholders and having a conversation with them to find out. In fact, I must add some of those who took the exam and even the organization that represents teacher trainees across the country. But Alfred, let me add this very quickly before Prof comes in. In terms of the current way in which we certify teachers to make them professional and how it has been structured, there has been some difference of opinion between the current managers of state, the MPP and the NDC. In the run-up to the 2020 election, you will notice that we in the NDC, in our manifesto, had indicated that if we were given the opportunity to govern this country, we were going to cancel the teacher licensure exam. We were also going to cancel the one-year national service. We had felt that when you keep them to do national service for 1 year, and after that they have to then register and write the exam, there is a problem there.
Where is the problem?
We believe that by staying home that long, it affects their mental agility. It reduces their potency. We also believe that letting them do national service was also further delaying the ability to deploy teachers in a faster rate to the classroom. So here was our variation of how it was going to be done. We had proposed that a course be introduced in the teacher training institutions, and that course should be a final year course tailored towards preparing them for the licensure component. You take that course in your final year, and then you write. It is going to be a credit course. You write the course. When you pass, you are then licensed. So you don't have to leave college or the teacher training institution, go home and do national service for 1 year, and then pay a registered fee to write the licensure exam. This was our proposal.
So let me understand this. So you acknowledge the fact that the licensure exam is important because it's a way of what? Certifying that this is a person who has the requisite skills and education to stand before children to teach.
That is correct.
That's number one. So you're saying you propose to scrap the licensure exam
in this current form.
So were you going to do away with the entire licensing regime, or you were going to do something different?
The licensing would take place, but it is the mode. Instead of making it a standalone and making it post-college, we're going to include it as a course, a final year course within the colleges of education, and you have to take it. Now, if you take it and you don't pass, you don't get the license, but you have to go and retake it within the context of the college. Now, remember that some of the excuses that those who have failed are given is that they don't know the parameters, they have no understanding of what to expect, and what have you, and so forth and so on.
Dr. Park, if you look at the mistakes that we've seen, very basic and elementary.
No, I'm not arguing.
Yeah, I want to find out how staying at home 1 year reduces the mental agility of these people so much that such basic mistakes, the spelling mistakes we saw, and poor expressions are actually affected. I mean, I just want to understand the nexus between...
I see your point. But you see, if you are listening to some of the students that you spoke to, some of them were interviewed by your own network. I listened to the news, I believe at Accra College of Education.
Yes.
But our proposal is what they are also asking for. But we are not by any means saying that our proposal was to allow everyone to pass. But at least it will allow them the opportunity to be properly tutored within the context and confines of the academic institution. All of these that we are talking about, these are persons who have now gone through. They are unable to spell these basic words. Mm-hmm. We are told that, the grammar is porous and what have you. Mm-hmm. What do we do with them now?
So it's not because they've stayed home for 1 year.
No, Alfred, so what do we do with them now? What are we going to do with them? Are we just going to discard them? What are we going to do? And that is why some have suggested that this is even beginning to pose a national security threat. What are you going to do with them? Is it not the case that if it was within the college system, they would have had the opportunity to go back? And if it is indeed that they were deficient in numeracy or literacy, they could retake those courses? So what are you going to do with them?
Professor Ransford Jampo, I mean, the good thing is that my guests in here are lecturers, they are teachers, so they understand the rudiments of this particular profession and then also the basis for this conversation. So you look at what's on the screen there, Professor Jampo, and then also that issue that Dr. Clement Park raises about the length of period they stay at home and how that reduces their mental agility. Is there enough strength in that argument, especially because of how some educationists have described as elementary some of the mistakes that cause these people the failure rate we are seeing? Very basic, that should not necessarily reduce over time, because these are people who are teachers who have gone through either 3 years of College of Education or 4 years attachment to a university, and then they come out. Beyond the fact that they are at home for a year, they sit for this exam and then you see a year or more. Yes. They sit in for this exam and then you see these basic mistakes that are made. Prof.
Well, I've been a teacher all my life. From 16 September 1996, I started teaching in some basic schools. I've taught in almost all departments of teaching, from KG to class 1 to lower primary, upper primary, GHS, secondary schools, and to university. I've been a teacher all my life, and I was quite worried and surprised when this news broke. And the first question I asked myself was, what was the essence of Act 1023, a teacher licensure exam? Because I was of the view that if truly there is confidence in what is done at the teacher training centers and the colleges of education, and then you didn't really need another body to want to go and confer licenses on teachers. And so I was thinking that why wasn't it possible for us to incorporate the licensure exam into the curriculum of the training centers, so that once you are done, and your license is given to you. But maybe it suggested to me, I felt that maybe people were not so much then confident in the training, the caliber, the type of training that people receive at these training centers. But generally, let me make the point that, Alfred, the idea of teaching is a calling.
Teaching is a calling.
Teaching is a calling. You must be called into that profession to be able to teach. It's not just for anybody.
It's not a profession.
It is not. Teaching is not just for anybody. It is a calling. And so you must receive that calling to want to teach. So the students themselves that we teach, they know. When a called teacher appears before them, they know. And when somebody else also appears before them, they know. Now, it appears that for many years, many people have ventured into that profession without the calling on them. So you are done with school, or you are getting done with school, SHS, and then you see that your elder brother has been done with school and he's been home for 5 years. He's not found employment. Mm-hmm. Your elder sister has been home for 3 years. He's not found job. Mm-hmm. The commonsensical attitude is that, then let me go and apply for teacher training colleges so that I'll become a teacher, because then it assures me or guarantees me guarantee a certain job for me after school. And so many people have landed into that profession because of the fear of joblessness after school. They are not called. And so such people, they try mathematics and English, First World War, Second World War, and if they barely pass, they find themselves in that institution of training to become teachers. And so it becomes difficult. It will become difficult for such people when they are confronted with some of these basic things, because again, I say that to be a teacher, you must be academically smart and brilliant, because you are going to teach. That's right. You can. I mean, people don't want me to say these things, but it is the blunt truth. You can't be a teacher. It's as simple as that. And so I saw some of the spellings. Alfred, you are laughing. I saw some of the spellings. Motivation. And I said, these are not called teachers. They are people who ventured into that area because of the fear of joblessness after school. And so what do you expect? So I am sad. I am disappointed. My way out is that government and society in which we live in, we should strive hard to create more job openings so that people who are not supposed to be teachers would not want to be teachers simply because they may be looking for a job. The other thing that I want to talk about is to question. Let's question these licentiate people and their remarks that they've given and their verdicts that they've given. Let's subject it to some form of scrutiny.
You mean the National Teaching Council?
Yes, let us subject the verdict they've given to some form of scrutiny, because I am also thinking that, look, come on, who would spell headache H-E-A-D-I-C? Dick. Maybe they are also trying to offer a certain explanation. I'm saying this because I'm aware, and you are aware, that what we have told the IMF that we'll be doing this year and beyond is that we are going to freeze public sector employment. There's going to be public sector recruitment freeze. It is what we, among the kinds of austerity measures we decided to impose on ourselves to be able to secure assistance from IMF. We told them that if you give us the money, we will not recruit a lot of people into the public sector. There's actually going to be a freeze. Yes. Now, so if there's going to be a freeze and you have over 7,000 teachers, prospective teachers, writing an exam, and then you are told that over 6,000 out of the 7,000 have failed, we must look at that verdict with some trepidation. Because all we may know, it may be somebody's also an agenda that, look, I mean, this is in line with the new IMF deal. And if you pass all of them, it means over 7,000 students and teachers are going to be recruited by the public sector. And the government may not be able to. And so I'm saying that I'm a teacher. I cannot support any move that humiliates prospective teachers. Okay, so I do not believe that it is fair to say that to put HEADIC there as a spelling for headache by a prospective teacher. But it may be possible that
that's actually what happened.
Well, you and I, we didn't see the script. You were not there. You didn't see the script. So I am saying that it is possible somebody may also be making up for a story.
So
Alfred,
no, I just want to make a point.
You can't discount this hypothesis.
All these
yes,
you saw are actually from the scripts of the.
Did you see the script?
The script, we have copies of it.
You have copies?
We have copies of it.
You are sure?
So we will actually make them available to you.
Yes.
So that you see.
Well,
but then, point is that be that as it's made that your derivation may have some basis. Does it also take away the fundamental concern about how these people got to this point in the first place? Because they've gone through the mail.
Yes, how this you see and as I said, how they got through, how they got here is also, in my view, one of the explanatory variables for the institutionalization of the licensure exam. It appears that the idea of asking another body to be hosting or conducting licensure exam for teachers is that then we do not really trust the kind of education and training that people go through at the training centers and at the colleges of education. And most of them, we are told, do some of these things via distance. And we know the challenges that many students go through when they are doing their degrees or certificates through distance. They go through a lot of challenges. Many of the universities do not, or training centers do not even see them as students. The treatment meted out to them is quite shabby. And so to sit in your home and be involved in so many things, when we were students, we focused on our books. Right. We were just students. I mean, you either want to be a student or you don't want to be a student. So when I was a student, I stopped everything and I focused on my books. And so you cannot be doing so many things as a distance learning. So people are traders, people are mechanics, people are doing all manner of things. And then at the same time, they said, I'm a distance learning student. And they do not even have the focus. And sometimes if you go and meet your instructor, the sheer numbers, and you meet them if like once a month, okay? The sheer numbers is such that no meaningful tutoring and education can be, our knowledge can be imparted to the students. So they are left on their own. And so there is also a fundamental problem with the quality of education or teacher training we give out to some of these prospective teachers. But generally...
Can I
yes,
piggyback on what...
Because you're a member of the
committee,
in fact,
yes.
the deputy ranking member of the education committee. The point Professor Jampo raises about probing the National Teaching Council's own verdict on this so that we understand some detail of how this over 6,000 failure rate came about. And for you, the committee, to also ascertain beyond what the NTC is saying, maybe the reasons why we are having this huge failure rate, so that we put the issues in perspective, that it's not probably just because we cannot, the suspicion that employs so much, we use this as a means of legitimizing that approach.
Yes, Alfred, that is why in my submission, I made the case that the Oversight Committee has a responsibility to drill deep and find out what the issue is. You know, we can't just take these numbers on face value, giving all the dynamics that I had earlier on enumerated. You see, I didn't want to be as direct as Professor Jampo. But
unfortunately, that's how I've always been.
The view that he espoused is one that I have also pondered over. And indeed, it is in circulation. And so we cannot discount it, because if you look at the sheer numbers of this year's failure rate, and you look at the trend from the inception of the exam, something is definitely wrong. And we can only get to the bottom of what actually has happened if we hold a hearing and bring in stakeholders, including the NTC, to find out why this is the case. Because make no mistake, within the environment of the teacher training processes, the quota system has been reintroduced. A lot of people are not aware. The quota system is back. So, for example, this year's enrollments, we have teacher colleges of education that usually would have taken about 300 students, compared to take 200, and in some cases 150. We know that all of this was in preparation to address what is now the obvious, to cut down on public expenditure. So it cannot be entirely dismissed.
What was the reason given for the reintroduction of the quota system? Because I know that came to the committee's attention before it...
No, it didn't come to the committee's attention. In fact, we heard it in the public space, and some of us made it a public issue. And in fact, we challenged government of reneging on a promise made. Because again, if you look at the run-up to the 2016 election and what our opponents in the MPP were saying against an earlier decision, policy that had taken effect, to take away allowances in lieu of allowing prospective teachers to take the student loan. We were told that if they had the opportunity to govern, they could do both the allowances and still maintain an open door policy where every prospective teacher who qualifies to go to a college of education would go. So when they introduced the quota system, we raised that and called them out on it. But the point I'm seeking to make is that we cannot discount the propensity of a very smart and fertile brain to introduce a much more stringent process seeking to reduce the numbers that would otherwise be employed by the state. So what I'm saying is that given all of these dynamics and all the suspicions and all the renditions, the only way to get to the bottom of this issue is to invite the stakeholders and scrutinize, including, as Prof has said, critically examining what the NTC has put up. I think that is the best way forward.
And now, but if you look at the conclusions, and then Prof, just as you requested, some of these, the question, the answer sheets that we saw made available to you, and extract of which we put on the screen. But because the committee's work is critical in establishing exactly what led to this, Professor Jampo, eventually, if the National Teaching Council and the other stakeholders, Ghana National Association of Teachers, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAC, they've also been speaking about this outcome. What are some of the specific areas of interest that they should be looking at so as to establish exactly what is going on? Professor Jampo.
Well, I think, like I said earlier, let them go back to review the quality of training and teaching that goes on at the various training and teaching centers. That's number one. And like I highlighted earlier, you don't expect any better training of a prospective teacher who goes about his effort to be trained through this distance learning program that treats students or prospective training, prospective teachers as second-class students. The facilities and the infrastructure are so severely underdeveloped, such that no meaningful impartation of knowledge can go on there. And so the committee may want to look at the quality of the training programs. And then also, we must, as a nation, understand, as I indicated earlier, that teaching is not just for anybody. Right. And so let us be sure that those who put themselves out there to want to be teachers are people who, first of all, have that kind of calling on their lives. Teaching should not be because I will not find a job to do, and so then let me find it. And people say that as for teaching is just a stepping stone. Who told you? I want to be a teacher. That's why I'm teaching. It's not a stepping stone to anywhere. And so it doesn't make sense for people to want to go into that noble profession simply because that is a stepping stone, or that is the only way they can be employed. Let the processes and let the economy be expanded. You see, up to now, politicians are still telling us about the problems confronting the country. Up to now, 7 years into the administration of the current regime, we are still diagnosing our problems. So when will we solve our problems and expand the economy such? And I've told my students, level 300 governance and leadership students, they know the essence of governance is to solve problems and not to explain problems. It appears that we are always in love with those who explain problems. When they explain and pontificate the problems, we love them, we feel they can. There's a difference between pontificating and explanation of the problem and solving them. But we are still solving problems. We are still explaining problems, even now. And so, let us move away from problem explanation to fixing problems and to expanding the economy such that young men, young women will not see teaching a profession into which they may not have a calling. They may not see it as a way of guaranteeing their potential joblessness, after school. And so let the committee look at let it be broad and holistic in looking at all these facets of the problems with a view to ensuring that these things do not recur. Frankly, it's a shame if it is really true. Then it's a shame. But I'm also repeating the fact that it may also be some propagandistic results, because the government has told us that there's going to be public sector recruitment freeze. And I'm not seeing how passing all the 7,000 teachers would fare in relation to the government's agenda of telling us that even if you qualify, we will not recruit you because it's an IMF conditionality that we have imposed on ourselves. So let's look at things holistically. Let us not swallow hook, line, and sinker what Christian Daipoko and his team are telling us. Let us interrogate it properly, because for all one may know, there may be other hidden variables.
Well, that's where Dr. Clement Apak, your committee is very crucial in all of this. As we go on, I'll show to you exactly the impact of the IMF program on the education sector, and you say it quite clearly. So this is the fundamental question now that is begging for an answer would definitely come from the work of your committee.
Yes.
If eventually you pick this up as
legitimately so. And I think the only entity, as we speak today, that is clothed with the requisite authority and that the public would trust to do justice to a matter of this nature should be the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education, largely because, it is composed of representation, from both sides of the aisle. And so until that is done, you cannot fault others for, proposing what is possible under the current dispensation. And these are very, cogent proposals to make. I mean, you can't take anything off the table, given where we are. But you see, Professor Jampo also touched on a matter that I think we need to keep in mind and not lose sight of. which is the training processes and the fact that teaching is a calling. I think that also then raises the issue of how those who go to train as teachers are admitted into the colleges of education or other university programs that prepare them to become teachers, and in fact, their quality. So make no mistake, the issue of quality cannot be taken off the table. And so if we are going to look at it, all of these variables must come into play. And I raise the issue of quality also because in the 2023 presentation that was made to us by the National Teaching Council to justify its budgetary request, there was an item 19, titled Entrance Examination. And I was very curious when I saw that. So as you all expect, I asked Dr. Ade, why entrance exam? What does that mean? It turns out that, you know, the National Teaching Council had even made a proposal to government. And that had even got into cabinet about the introduction of an entrance examination. So the proposition is that before you even gain entrance into a college of education or to go and train as a teacher, you must pass an entrance examination. The question then is, why is there the need? Why are they proposing an entrance exam? And they had asked that we approve 7.8 million Ghana cedis. And we had said no. I had raised the objection.
This was in the 2020.
Yes, I have it here. I have the document here. I had said no. We cannot approve this amount since this policy is yet to be approved by government. I mean by cabinet. Until it is approved by cabinet, we cannot give you a blank check. What if cabinet does not approve the policy to institute an entrance exam in with regards to training of teachers? So all of these issues must be part of the dialogue. So we see where the issues are. But this is not in any way trying to suggest that all the issues that Prof has raised do not merit interrogation. I think they all merit very serious and critical interrogation based on figures. We need to see the trends. We need to see the sample questions. We need to see the marking scheme. I mean, some of us are good enough to be able to analyze and to determine if something untoward has happened somewhere to trigger this colossal failure. And so until we do this critical analysis as a committee, looking at all the variables, interrogating all the information, bringing before us all the stakeholders, I think it will be too quick for us to point fingers at the persons who have failed. I am very reluctant. In all my discussion on this matter, I've restrained myself to point fingers and to accuse the over 6,000 individuals who have failed that they are dunderheads or omabong. Clearly, a beer bong. But to tell me that this colossal number, it is impossible. I mean, some people may not be up to purpose. They may not be fit for purpose. But the sheer number, the number.
Over 6,000 out of 7,000.
As my senior brother and mentor Kwesi Pratt will say, Alibaraka. It's too much. It's too big in Hausa.
But you see, we look at that it's not the entire, we understand it has components. Some of them who are resitting the exam, they failed last year, and some of them are resitting, others are actually sitting for the first time. Let me introduce Lawyer Martin Kpebu joining us now. Good morning, lawyer. Welcome.
Yeah, morning.
So, bring you in quickly on this one because Dr. Clement Apaak wanted to touch briefly on this, the IMF impact, and then also the issues that have been raised. But with this 7,728 prospective teachers who retook this licensure exam, and then also others who were sitting for the first time, we had some 1,277, just some 1,277, about 16.5% passing, and then about 83.5% failing. And that's what the two teachers have been analyzing the plausibility of what could have led to this, and the fundamental questions, probing exactly what the case, especially because the Education Committee has taken interest in this matter. Dr. Clement Apak, Deputy Ranking Member on that committee. Quick one on this.
Okay, good. So I wear many hats, at least. When it comes to teaching, I think I've done about 10 years, right?
10 years of teaching?
Mm-hmm. Accra Poly and Central University. And I'm not done. I think I'm a teacher.
You are still teaching?
Yeah, actually, I love the profession.
We don't know this.
This is quite a revelation.
That's why you have a lot of money.
Somebody said I'm a disappointed lawyer. So, well, yeah, so, I mean, well, you look at this matter and you see that straight away. I heard when I was coming, I was monitoring you guys. Prof said it, and then Dr. Park also said it. When you see such a high number of failure, okay, or the high percentage like this, the first person you'll be looking at is the examiner, straight. No curve, no bend. Yeah. Or let's say the setup, the institutional setup for the exams. Those who mark, those who have set the questions, the whole architecture. They are the first culprits. It can't be the students when you see such a huge number. Oh, trust me. Yeah, it can't be. It's a setup. It's a setup. You are the first. So you heard. Look, and the fact when you started it, the part I listened to, you did the interviews, right? Now, the first person I heard, the guy was so eloquent, and he said that this man failed. He said such a guy failed. Yeah, he was very honest, candid about it. Well, they say I failed the threshold. He raised very poignant issues. And you say that such a person failed. Of course, I know spelling is one thing. And of course, I'll come back to the spelling.
We've got the issues of general expressions and all.
He
But
was very
how do you
articulate.
relate that with...
No, and as for the spelling, let's even debunk it straight away. No, have we checked in every population? Well, so we'll come back. I will develop the institutional framework for the exams further. But I want us to quickly debunk the matter of these spellings we are showing up there. Look, in every population, there are those who are dyslexic. There are those who are dyslexic. I don't know how we factored in there. So the fact that I can't spell headache, does that mean the whole script is bad? That I can't spell middle, punctual. So, no, that shouldn't be the end. Every population, look, you look through the system, go on the net. Every population, you will find that a percentage, they say 9 to 20%, can't spell well. It's look, and there are very famous and successful people who are dyslexic. So when we say dyslexia, some people, the problems with spelling. Yeah, it's, what do you call it? What's the word? So you see, even I'm struggling to find a word. So will you say, because people can't find a word, I'm not good enough to teach. They're like born with it. Born with it. You don't buy it. It's not because your teachers weren't good. Look, very famous people. Steven Spielberg, the film director. Richard Branson, Virgin Atlantic. So many, R. Kelly. One of them, is it Einstein or one of them? Which there was this famous scientist. So many dyslexic, and yet they've, changed this world. So Charles Schwab, Ted Turner, CNN, the founder of CNN, dyslexic. William Hewlett, Henry Ford, go on. Steve Jobs. Apple.
In fact,
Go on and on. Tommy Hilfiger. You wear his clothing and you're like, wow, this is Tommy Hilfiger. He's dyslexic. Okay? And so on and on. So it's a matter that, so I'm happy the two professors have mentioned it. We may just be discussing this matter out of context because we don't have the full report. We don't know what went into it. And so I think we should, maybe... We've raised the matter. So for me, the upshot of this discussion is that the regulatory body will have to sit down. They are the ones who have failed, not the students.
The regulatory body?
Yes.
Where exactly is their
That's
issue?
why I said
Especially because They put up, they set the questions. In fact, this is not the first time. Maybe with the failure rate this year, actually maybe higher, or is higher than all the other years we have seen. But these people, they set up the questions, the students sat for the exam and then and failed.
Yes, it's a regulatory body that
Where
failed. It's
does
not
the
the
regulator
students.
have to answer questions?
The student, you heard, and this is my co-panelist professors, very distinguished ones, are that they've mentioned it. You're going to an exam, they've not shown you the syllabus. You're going to an exam, you've not seen marking scheme, and you say that's fair.
Do you have to see the marking scheme?
Yes.
Of the student?
Yes.
I mean, the student has to see the marking scheme?
Yes. That should be fair, so that you know that, okay, emphasis will be placed here, there. I mean, look, we've moved away from these ambush exams. Ambush exam. And don't forget, a few years ago, in the legal profession, we had the same problem. Only 128 students passed out of thousands. Yeah, it became a topical issue. There was so much furore. And you see that the Board of Legal Education and the Independent Exam Council, they came in and then they made some changes. And in the past 3 years, about over 1,000 consistently have been enrolled.
So you show the law students their marking scheme, so they are aware of...
Well, not maybe to...
No,
just
me,
not...
I support showing marking scheme. This ambush thing is over. We are so
Because as far as I know, they don't see marking scheme.
No, I'm saying let's be progressive. You're going to show marking scheme that when we're in secondary school, there were books that, so like for the previous year, so that you know that constant, this how it is. So let's say, what do you say, English. Then they'll tell you, okay, the script, each essay, maybe 30 or 40 marks. They'll show you organization, mechanical accuracy, etc. Right? Maths. Yeah, so show everything ahead of time so that the students learn, they know what goes into marking the script. Then they can prepare sufficiently. Why are you hiding information from them? I don't see it. I don't. So, like we're saying, back to the point, we can learn from the reforms in the legal sector, okay, the legal profession. When the only 128 students passed out of the several thousands, Board of Legal Education and the Independent Exam Council, they came out, they did reforms, and now at least it's far better. And so this is where we should learn. And please, let's not, take it out of context. It's normal for you not to be able to spell these words that you've stated. Okay, we just mentioned dyslexia. You check, those of us listening, you attempt to spell dyslexia and you see whether you can spell it. So does that mean that you are not good, your certificates are worthless because you can't spell a few words?
In fact, if you look at the failure rate from what I'm seeing, even compared to this year, last year was higher. In fact, we saw some 8,400 last year. And so there's been a reduction as well. But at this point, do you show or do you support that call Lawyer Martin Kpebu is making about letting students know the marking scheme? Is this something you do?
No, I think that you can have materials that guide students as to how to answer questions. But if you set questions and then you give out the marking scheme, then there is no exam. Okay. So you can generally have material that aids. And when we're in secondary school, we had materials that you read and then they aided you to know which areas to focus on and in answering questions. Because I remember there were some lecturers when I was a student who could even come and read the questions to you. These are the questions you are going to answer. Mm-hmm. They read it to you. But what becomes the crux of the matter is for you to know which areas of your lectures and your readings you must bring, and so then he keeps the marking scheme to his chest. So you must decipher and be able to break into which areas you must focus on, which areas you must write on, and which areas you must not write on. And that's the reason why some people get punished for answering topics rather than answering questions. There's a difference between answering topics. There's a student you quiz or you ask a question, and then he provides or produces everything that you have taught, in that area on that topic for you. And as if to say that, well, you yourself pick what is good and then leave the... No. You are trained to answer questions, but every question has a focus, and it is the focus that determines the marking scheme. which the lecturer keeps to his chest. But I agree that to be able to be proactive, we can, yes, not share marking scheme, but there can be other guides that students can read in addition to their research to know how to answer questions. But the point again I want to make is to emphasize, and he's also made that point, take a second look, approach the verdict that has been given by these licentiate people with some trepidation, because I insist that an IMF conditionality can be part of the explanatory variable for this kind of abysmal performance.
Simply put, we must take this with a pinch of salt.
So that will be established, and that's why your committee has some work to do. In fact, if you look at the, and I know you have the statistics of the number of students who sat for this exam last year compared to this year and the previous years as well. So you know that the failure rate that we're even alarmed about this year is actually lesser than what we saw last year.
No, I disagree.
We're talking about the number of students involved.
In terms of percentages?
In terms of figures, raw figures.
That is not what my data tells me. I'll cross-check that. I'll cross-check that. But this is why we actually need to sit down with the examining body. Because I'm also now getting some new information that this particular exam that we are talking about was purposely taken by those who had taken it previously and failed. That first time teachers who had just completed college did not participate in this. And theirs is going to be in August. So there's a lot.
So that's why there's a reduction.
There's a lot that is not even known to all of us. But you see, let me make this point. Let me make this point. I find it unacceptable, objectionable, for the National Teaching Council to put out scripts to demonstrate or try to justify why students have failed. I find that objectionable.
It is unprofessional.
What is the purpose of that?
It's unprofessional.
Why would you do that?
It's unprofessional.
This is certainly objectionable. It is condemnable and must not be tolerated.
It's unprofessional.
I'm even a member of the Committee on Education. We are discussing this matter. I have not seen such a script.
It's unprofessional.
I don't even fully understand the magnitude. So what was the motivation to put out this in the public domain, if not perhaps to achieve
a certain
narrative?
Yeah.
You see, all of these are the reasons why those who are advancing the idea that there could be some ulterior motive behind these colossal numbers that have failed ought to be taken seriously, because I truly do not understand why the National Teaching Council felt the need to make public and publicize scripts and even discuss the content of scripts. To what end?
Otherwise,
I find that very
in a school, in a university, why don't we go out there when students do have problems with exam scores? We don't show them their scripts. If you have a problem, you go for remarking. We don't take scripts out there and then show it to people. It's unprofessional. On their part. It's unprofessional.
That's why your committee
defense briefly. Okay. Yes, I heard them on another network also complaining. So meaning that they didn't put it out those scripts officially. Because I heard there was a reference something that he was very livid that the scripts were out and people were discussing them.
But so it's possible they ought to come out.
Let me just put it on record that
I heard them speaking to the
people who have put out these scripts are not officials of the National Teaching Council. That is number one.
So is their system so porous that people can get in and then just pick scripts and then put them in the public domain?
How did that happen? They will tighten up now that we are teaching them on.
Well, while we round up, Dr. Clement Apaak, it still comes back to you, because if you look at the specific numbers, not percentages, in 2022, you made that point about another group sitting for the exam. Because if you look at the numbers, in 2022, 120,000 people sat for this, and 44,000 failed. But in 2021, 19,000 sat, and 8,400 failed. So the reduction in numbers probably is explained by the point you're making about another group also sitting the exam at a different time, sometime in August.
That's correct.
As well. But then there is a fundamental concern about the failure in terms of numbers, not percentages, over the years, where you see 44,000, 8,400. That should also be another matter of concern to the committee if you're going to probe this beyond everything else that we've talked about.
Yes, I think that I would suggest to my colleagues, obviously the chair and the ranking, that we should take a holistic approach to this. We shouldn't just confine it to the current issue. We ought to go back and look at it from the onset. Look at all the dynamics, all the variables over time. I think that will be the best way we can serve this nation. I mean, when these things come up, you know, it then gives policymakers and lawmakers the opportunity to take a more holistic approach and do a thorough examination and analysis of the issue. And you can't do that based on the specific variable that is currently presenting itself.
Right.
You must go back in time and try to do it. And so let's see if there are some trends that can emerge. And that is where we will be able to decipher and pinpoint and to see if indeed, you know, our Prof. Jampo has not failed to indicate almost at every submission that perhaps there is some other motivation attributable to what we are witnessing. So I would like to beg leave.
We'll wait for the outcome of the committee's work. Indeed, Dr. Clement Apak is Deputy Ranking on the Education Committee of Parliament and also Member of Parliament for the Bosa South constituency. Stay with me. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Our next conversation, we're taking a trip into the Asin North constituency. A lot is happening there ahead of the by-election on Tuesday. Stay with us.
Your friend me keki, me a taxi driver. Sawo kai titi taxi driver. Wako na humi jie mukrano. Me ano di nechi jam na e futu kakao di jam nso ne se. Se e bani battery di ake speed mate battery. Na no ni battery papa. You see this whole area? I'm the original chef to Kabarat. Na pe bia menya bia ma. One day I no park was here. Last time the battery call off, me sorting out one time. Saka no battery ni bo adwuma all right. Nice one. Mention fix. Saka alaji. Okon cross course anyama bayi. Daro nyame no share me an. Oh, kahaji ayen to save you. And so share me and sorting out with speed mate battery. And I just say, assembly na sem kogu ya. He say wa jet too much talk about hundred. Me can full speed mate batteries. Head the amount.
Minuanum. We hear battery papa dia. A speed mate battery.
Uko rata moto say na accredited agent. Iwa Ghana have an bia. Ubenya biato. Battery papa no.
My people, Philadelphia, our very own Adansi Travels is 10 years old.
Then this will be a 10-day thing.
That is right. We are going on a 10-day adventure in Dubai on a chartered Emirates flight full of Adansi travelers from 10th to 19th August. And starting from $1,650, you can be part of this Adansi-licious 10th anniversary tour. The rate covers flights, hotel accommodation, breakfast, visa, airport transfer, tours, and a dancing at 10 mega party at Dubai Desert Camp with the legendary Samini.
Adansi Travelers Tour. It's a vibe. The 10th anniversary. Don't be a part of this.
You can pay a minimum of $500 to book your seat and pay the rest till 15th July. Contact Adansi Travels now on 0595 500 817 or 055 631 0404 to book your spot now. Adansi Travels. Feel life's beauty.
And there were 4.
Assuming that no student failed, find the number of students who just passed. Dote.
153.
You're correct.
Presbyterian Boys, Legon.
Where is the edge of space located?
100 kilometers above sea level.
That is the right answer.
St. Peter's Senior High.
Some harmless strains of this bacteria are found.
Escherichia coli.
St. Augustine's College.
Applying VSEPR theory, but no loan plus Adisadel.
Tribunal Plena.
That's it.
And at Disadel College, these illustrious high schools will battle it out for the covetous Shark Season 6 Golden Book of Knowledge Trophy and 50,000 cedis in total cash allocation. Also happening is the Junior Sharks Finals between Mana International School, Kumasi, and DPS International, Tema. Date, Saturday, 24th June 2023. Venue, Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, Ridge, Accra. Time is 9 a.m. Join us for the live Sharks finale. The Sharks is brought to you by and endorsed by the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service.
Whenever I have sexual intercourse with my boyfriend, I need to think about my brother before I can get an orgasm.
This young lady is battling with her reality and her fantasies.
Fantasies are acceptable, but there are boundaries to which we should allow certain fantasies.
Some things we shouldn't give room for it to improve. You see it, we pack it off.
She has what we would term defined her scope about what is masculinity, what is sexuality, what is the outside world. So her scope is defined by her brother.
Now you want to stop, you want to come out. Who are you now?
Thank you.
That should be the first question.
Who are here? You are able to tell us the things you can't ever tell anyone else.
Confessions shows on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by
MTN.
Get ready to splash this summer at the hottest event of the season. It's the Date Rush Pool Party, coming to you live on Saturday, 8th July at the breathtaking Pleasant Gardens, Jolu. Get ready to groove to the infectious beats of the sensational Dope Nation, the energetic prince of the street, LaRusso, the fast-rising TV3 Mentor X winner, DSL, who will be setting the stage on fire, along with the baddest DJs, DJ Faculty, DJ Abiam, DJ Phil, and more. So put on your trendiest swimwear, grab your friends, and dive into an epic celebration of summer. Remember, it's Saturday, 8th July at the stunning Pleasant Gardens, Jolu. Doors open at 3 p.m. Don't miss out on this unforgettable experience. Tickets are going for a cool 50 Ghana cedis. For tickets, dial *713*33*25#. To purchase or make a reservation, call 0244-405027. Date Rush Pool Party, the summer event you don't want to miss.
Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Dr. Clement Apak has had to take leave of us. Malik Basintale is joining us now, also a member of the NDC. Malik, good to have you. Good morning.
Good to be here.
Great.
Perfect.
Right on. Also connecting with us on Zoom shortly is Richard Ahiagba. He's Director of Communications of the MPP. He's in the Asin North constituency. Quite a number of them are there, and so that explains why he's unable to make it. In fact, he was to join us in studio, but because of this late call last night, he had to leave. That's the explanation that we're getting. And that explains why you don't have a member of the NPP in studio, but he's going to be joining us on Zoom in a bit. But the Asin North by-election is up in less than 72 hours from now. The election will be taking place. The by-election will be taking place in the Asin North constituency. We have been to the constituency. In fact, we've spent the last 2 weeks, about 8 days out of the 14 days gone by in that constituency. and bringing you details of what both parties are doing, especially MPP and the NDC, even though we have 4 candidates, we understand, contesting this by-election as well. Now, there's been an issue of or accusation of vote buying and bribery on both sides is coming through from both the MPP and the NDC. We've seen videos on social media, some of which we're going to be playing as we go on, of fertilizer being shared in pickups, money being sprayed in some places to some people as well. And then also issues about the overnight projects, which appears to be the modus operandi of the modern day Ghanaian politician, that you wait for a by-election before you bring development to the people in a particular constituency. We've seen that happening as well. Yesterday, the Vice President went to commission a road and so on. Now, let's start off with you, Malik, on this, because you understand you just came from the constituency this morning.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I see. So what is going on there in the Assin North constituency with respect to these issues of the allegations of vote buying on both sides? Because we've seen videos of both sides, both of you either sharing fertilizer or money. Why?
First of all, let me say good morning to our viewers. Not being here with the excuse of being in Assin North does not hold. I'm Deputy National Communications Officer. I've been in Assin North throughout. I've been campaigning to leave Assin North midnight yesterday to arrive here at dawn, and here am I seated in the studio. And so that shouldn't be an excuse for one not to be in studio this morning, because we've all been there working. Alfred, ordinarily, I think that we in the NDC, one would think that we shouldn't be bothered, because no matter the amounts of money that is sprayed there, even if the MPP decides to share human parts or visas to heaven, we will defeat them landslide in this particular election. And we will defeat them because the will of the people was demonstrated in 2020. And so it will not take some 7 people in black maternity attire and some golden barrettes to determine the one who should lead the people of Assin North. The will of the people was demonstrated, the will of God was demonstrated, and will be repeated. And so we in the NDC aren't afraid of, what the MPP is doing in that particular constituency, because from our interactions with the people, you find out that they are very discerning. It was not by mistake that they decided to even vote skirt and blouse in the 2020 election. They knew what they were doing, they did it right, and we had Honorable James Jachukwesin as our a member of parliament for that constituency. That said, there are few reasons why we are raising concerns to this particular, vote buying gimmicks and theory, that has been ongoing there. One is about the monetization of political campaigns in this country. Civil society groups have invested so much in ensuring that we have a campaign system in conformity with the rule of law, in conformity with the Constitution of Ghana, and by so doing, we have a political campaign where all candidates and political parties are given a fair space to share their message and vision statements. This is what anyone in this country or anyone in the world is looking out for. All civil society groups have been admonishing. In fact, I remember where you had an MPP rally, where for the first time in this country, cars were being shared for votes. It happened in this country. Uber vehicles were taken to a particular campaign rally grounds by a parliamentary aspirant, and you vote for him and you come for a car key and drive a car home. We had an instance in this country where the former national chairman of the MPP promised to give every constituency a bus should he emerge victorious in that particular election. We sat on these platforms, we spoke against them. Civil society groups, came out openly to state that let's have a campaign where we are given a fair platform to share our vision statements in this country. Look, we are struggling today in this country, all because of the monetization of the 2020 elections. I won't go to 2016 because I don't have any clear evidence to how monies were shared. But in 2020, we had evidence, we've discussed those matters, and we are struggling today because of the quality of leadership we have in this country. Why? In 2020, if people were given a fair platform, share your message, let me share my message. Even a 2-year-old child will fall for the NDC. But due to the monetization of the 2020 campaign, in fact, which was confessed by some parliamentary candidates of the MPP, one Felicia Tete, who was a candidate in Sanergu and a vice chairperson in the northern region, stated on clear tape how monies were given to them to share. She said, in fact, COVID funds, about 50,000 was doled out to them, 200,000 given to this one, 300,000 to that one. And we saw them share goodies on our streets. Today, we lack quality leadership. Today, we lack quality leaders who will be able to salvage the economic situation and economic mess we are in today, all because of the monetization of elections. And so, if we are speaking against the monetization of elections in this country, it is because it affects the crop of leadership we have. And today, the leaders we have in this country is a clear case example of how monetization of elections could lead us into a ditch. The second point, Alfred, has to do, and that's important to me, has to do with how a struggling economy, how an economy virtually in comatose, how an economy that had to go to the doorstep of the IMF in a wheelbarrow, how a diabetic economy that had to be amputated in order to meet the basic conditions of the IMF will in less than 2 months turn around with huge sums of money and spreading it all because of a by-election in Asenov. Look, the coffers of this country is empty. The economy is bankrupt. The finance minister has demonstrated that on a daily basis. Look, and Alfred, you and I may sit here and discuss these matters. But remember that when the amputation was being done, it didn't affect only MPP members. In fact, it didn't affect people who had recklessly managed our economic resources in this country. Innocent pensioners, as we speak today, are struggling and dying out there. People are unable to meet basic needs. People are unable to feed 2 times daily. People are unable to buy drugs and pay school fees, all because of this amputation. And why did we get to that point? Because of recklessness, because of the mismanagement of this economy, because of the incompetence of our leadership today, and because people felt that, look, when President Akufo-Addo was flying an 18,000 pound jet an hour, we spoke about it. Some people made it a laughing matter. I remember that when we were talking of how President Akufo-Addo chartered a 17,000 pound an hour jet to watch a UEFA Champions League finals, match finals, between Liverpool and his favorite team, Tottenham Hotspur. We discussed it. Some people who were not interested in politics were like, oh, Mukasa Dodo, you people speak too much.
Malik,
you people speak so much.
That to go and watch
Look,
the match?
He flew did he watch the match or not? Did he appear at the stadium or not?
Was there a function
did he enjoy it or not? Was 17,000 pounds an hour paid for the private jet or not? These are the fundamental questions, and I think we must have our minds to those
but
things.
If you say that he flew to go and watch the match, I think that we have to put the issue in the right
I have said that point is
that he did not go there specifically to go and watch the match.
You can call the president today and even ask him the scores of that particular match. He's aware, he remembers because he was there. Point is, did he watch the match? Point is, was 17,000 pounds an hour paid for a private jet? Point is, was the taxpayers' money used in catering for these services? These are fundamental things we must look out for. Let me move on with this.
What I want to establish here is that he did not, and I would do this to anybody else who comes to say, he did not fly to go and watch the match.
He flew
I think
to do
that
what?
if you go and if you say that he attended a function,
and then after the function, the item 13 was the match.
Well,
the item 13 was the
match.
match.
This much to fly a private jet to a function and then went to watch the match.
The match,
okay. But you see, there is a fundamental issue about the vote buying thing that you made reference to. You cited examples.
Right.
And it's convenient that you put it just with the MPP examples, but it's not a cardinal sin committed by just the MPP alone, is it not?
Look, I dare anyone who attempt hypocritically creating a double balance to this entire situation. I'm on this platform, and I dare anyone who would attempt to hypocritically, okay, have a fair balance and an attempt try to make it a both side situation. Have you seen anybody in the NDC carry Uber cars as an aspirant to share in a particular election? Have you seen anybody, okay, Uber cars in the NDC to share in an election?
You mean where? In Ghana, yes.
In Ghana, MP. But he's here. Alfred is here. Alfred. No. Mr. Kwebu, with the greatest of respect, Alfred is here. MPP carried Uber cars.
No, and you say, have you seen
any NDC member?
So, do you mean Uber alone or generally vote by?
I am coming. I've started with Uber.
You guys do it both sides.
No. Mr. Kwebu, I've already stated that.
University of Ghana, Mama, those small, the I-20 Hyundai, or we say Hyundai.
Which election was he contesting for?
2012.
Which election was he contesting for? And he gave it to students. Mr. Mohammed took. Mr. Kwebu, please.
That was the story.
That was the story you heard from some people walking out there.
You belittle us.
No. With the greatest of respect. Why? So vehicles are being given to MPP party chairman for the works they are doing as constituency chairman. Must I say that is vote buying? So because an I-10 was given to a 10 president so that he works on campus to deliver the youthful population for the party, is that vote buying? Mr. Kwebu, that is not what we are addressing here. We are addressing a situation where we say, vote for me and come and take this. We are addressing a situation where we say, take this and vote for me. That is what we are discussing on this platform. And so anybody who hypocritically
and you are
try to play both sides in this particular matter will be exposed on this platform.
Okay.
No, let me land on this. Just a minute. You see?
Okay.
So, Alfred, in all of this,
I think you have to take your time and make your point.
We are concerned. I don't know why you are jittering. I don't know why you are jittering. I don't know why you are jittering. I don't know why you are jittery. I don't know why you are jittery because I feel you will attempt equalizing. I know. And probably that is why you are already behaving. But we get there. Okay. Alfred, to land on this, I am saying the point we are making is that in what is happening in Asenov, if we allow things to go this way, I feel it will be extremely bad for the economic situation, especially in the court of public opinion, because people are concerned that till date, the government is struggling to pay NAPCO trainees who had been recruited. Till date, the government is struggling to pay school feeding caterers. And what surprises a lot of people, Alfred, is that even fertilizer contractors who have not been paid, the same fertilizers they supplied, not for sale fertilizers, are being distributed in this particular constituency. Yet, the MPP government claims it has no resources to pay all these people. And so, we are speaking against this because we feel that the government, as usual, has gone on a very reckless spear. The government, as usual, has gone on a very wrong notion. And if care is not taken, after this particular election, we'll be back to a second phase of amputation and we'll all have to bear the consequences.
In fact, what's happening in Assin North and the sharing of items is, well, from the videos we have seen, is not just peculiar to the NPP. We've seen some videos as well. And I know you are just coming from the constituency as well. So you will explain why you are also sharing things.
Right, I'm here.
Yes. So let me go on to Zoom now. And gentlemen, I'll come to you, please.
No.
Richard Ahiagba is Director of Communications of the NPP. He's also joining us on Zoom from the Assin North constituency. And as I indicated, he pledged to join us in studio, but he had an emergency, had to attend to the situation in Assin North, so had to leave. Mr. Ahiagba, can you hear me? Good morning. Hello, good morning. Can you unmute for me? Hello? We'll rectify that, forgive me. Professor Jampo, let me bring you at this point while we rectify that connection. Forgive me. Yes, on what is happening, just in the Asin North, the focus Asin North, but this increasing feature, which is also impacting negatively on our democracy, the advancement of our democracy. You're talking about vote buying and then the influence peddling that we have seen. You've had examples cited by Malik, obviously with the MPP, but then you will see that on both sides it's happening. What can be done to cure this, especially when it appears to be working for them? Because look, if they go on and do these projects, last minute projects, it tends to impact on the outcomes of the election. So the electorate as well, what should be the response to such things when they happen?
All right, so what I know is that in the lead up to by-elections, political parties do all manner of things, particularly the regime in power. What we see is that they would resort to several shoddy developmental projects that are only aimed at attracting or getting the people to see those projects so that they can vote for them. And I've also described, on several occasions, I've described those developmental projects as vote buying projects. They don't last. They don't outlast the elections. So it happens, especially with the ruling party. And I say this for all ruling parties in the history of our Fourth Republic. That's what we do, and they do, and we've spoken against it. But like you said, I mean, I've not been to Asin North, but I think your team have been there. And you are telling us that the accusations of vote buying this time is cuts, across both sides. I've not been there, but if your team has been there and then they are saying so, then I am inclined to take what you are saying more seriously than take what any politician says. So Malik should slow down a bit and let us do a general analysis of the situation. I have a view that, you see, the one who win the by-elections is going to win. And some of these maneuverings that tend to undermine the expression of the choice of the people do not help advance the cause of democracy. Yes, it's going to be a very keenly competitive election because the last election that was held there, you had the member of parliament winning from the NDC, and then the president of the on the MPP ticket, President Akufo-Addo, also winning for the presidential race. And so it tells you that the people there are quite discerning. It's a cosmopolitan area. And so I am happy that the two parties are not leaving anything to chance. They are vibrant, they are visible, they are there campaigning, and I think it's good. But you see, oftentimes the possibility of such campaign, such keenly competitive election degenerating into chaos is also high. And so I would urge the police to be up and doing. I know that over the week we heard something, unfortunate news, the gruesome murder of a police official, a police officer, and I think they are mourning. But the point is that we have a by-election to hold, and it is an election that is keenly contested. And so I would urge the police that just as they did, the professionalism that they showed and demonstrated in the Kumewu by-election to the admiration of all Ghanaians, they should be proactive and then go to Asin North and do same. My other point I want to make is that, you see, such keenly contested elections, and indeed all by-elections, should be taken quite seriously. And then I would urge the Electoral Commission. The last by-election in Kumewu, were told that an electoral officer attempted to do something that was untoward, and then he was the person was just taken pulled out of the team. I would urge the Electoral Commission, especially its top echelons,
to take by-elections also seriously, and then also to do all they can to bring the commission to the doorstep of the people. If you remember, during the days of Dr. Afarijan, in all by-elections, you see he himself getting to the constituencies or the areas that the by-elections are being held. And that brings a certain credibility, a certain seriousness. And if people are even working for you, I believe in strengthening institutions, letting people at the district and regions to work. But if it will not hurt anything, then I would expect that just as Afarijan used to do, you can have the chairperson of the Electoral Commission herself also going to the venue to inspect what is going on, granting media interviews here and there. It all helps in improving or rebuilding the trust deficit of the commission. It shows seriousness, and if any of your officials even want to be lackadaisical or lazy or do something untoward, the fact that the chairperson of the commission herself is there also would make them sit up. It also makes the combatants or the key leading or the political parties that are contested, it also makes them see the Electoral Commission as treating the issues or the election with a sense of seriousness. The last thing I want to say about the by-election Asenoff is the fact that I think I'm told that Kofi Apalu's party, LPG, has also shown interest, and it is there. I think it is something we should encourage. It appears that in the history of the Fourth Republic, we have oftentimes abandoned or left by-elections in the hands of the two main political parties. But if we are seeking to break this duopoly of the NDC MPP, then these smaller parties must also show a certain interest in by-election. You can go and just take one constituency and campaign, and dear yourself to them. Just get one parliamentary candidate there. And in so doing, you may be building the capacity, you may be strengthening your political party, and then gradually we may be moving away from the NDC MPP duopoly. But so generally, these are the few things that I want to say. But let us make the point that vote buying is not good. We've always criticized it. Whoever practices it, whoever does it, we should condemn it because it undermines the expression of the choice of the people. And like you said, you have been there. I have not been there. I've not seen any video. But if you tell me that it cuts across both sides, then I'm likely to believe what you are telling me. And if it is what is going on, we must all condemn it and tell the politicians that they should go about their campaigning as they are doing and allow the people to express their choice. At the end of the day, I believe that the one who will win.
Well, it's indeed, but as you always said and made reference to, the magnitude of both good and bad is always on the side of the incumbent, is it not? So in situations like this, even though you are having videos on both sides, the fundamental concern, for example, if I recall ahead of the Kumeuba election you raised, is the extent of the government of the day also doing such things, or as it were, waiting for the last minute to have such projects, developmental projects that the people of Asino have needed all this while actually being sped up ahead of the by-election. Richard Ahiagba, I think the connection is clear now from the Asin North constituency. I beg your pardon. Ahiagba, can you hear me?
Alfred, I can hear you.
Great. Now, you're in the constituency. We've seen videos on both sides about what's happening with respect to what you are sharing. But for you, as an incumbent and a government in power, beyond the sharing of ITEL, we've seen this overnight development going on in the constituency, the projects, some of which had been started but abandoned, now eventually being completed, and some that were scheduled to be completed at a later date. You've been able to find money to complete all these projects now. So why is this continuing, especially at a time when we are talking about the fact that we need to be deepening our democracy to make sense to the people who are governed by it?
Alfred, thank you very much. Very good morning to my professor, lawyer Martin Kwebu, and I think Malik, and your good self. I've listened very closely. I missed much of Lawyer Kwebu's submission at just the last kind of.
He's not even spoken yet. He's not spoken yet.
God, I'm dead.
Yes. He's not spoken
Very
yet.
well. That's okay. That's okay then. And then, but then the point I wish to make is that the allegation that is out there, I think you're talking about a video that saw people packing or loading certain items from a truck at our campaign head office. That's what you're referring to, because I don't know of us sharing anything. But the larger subject matter, the larger subject matter of vote buying, I think I want to agree with Prof. Jampo to say that it's something that we have to look at. The extent to which it may disrupt the genuine choice of people or interfere with people voting their conscience. That is the extent you want to be careful of. But I have not seen on a widespread basis, the allegation that people are buying votes and that will not necessarily undermine our democracy. Fundamentally, the health of our democracy is predicated by and large on our ability to open up for our citizens to choose who their leaders should be. And I think that is key. Once that is given a chance, I think our democracy is advancing, and where people want to do other things to be able to get people to vote for them, I think that cannot take precedent over the principal activity of election, which is what, in my view, the mainstay of democracy. But on Asinov specifically, I think that the NDC, I've sent you some videos, Alfred, and I've sent the same thing to your producer. If Malik is struggling to see evidence of what they are doing here in Asinov, I've sent in abundance what videos they have that's come up from their activities here in Asinov. They are freely sharing stuff in a manner you can see. You can see high-profile NDC personalities in the video. So I think that Prof. Jampo was right, and Lawyer Kwebu was right in trying to calm him down, because I'm not sure he's been here and see what his people are doing. But in my view, I don't think that there is a problem from our side. We are really, Alfred, I've been campaigning in the rain, in difficult circumstances, in the night, late into the night, to try to get our message to the people. And so our principal preoccupation here in Asinov is to have our message go down to the people. And that's what we're doing. We did that in Kumaru, and then we won. And so we've come here to do the same thing. So when you talk about vote buying, I don't think that the NPP is hinged our strategy on vote buying. And I think that perhaps the NDC is the one we have to look to kind of find out what their strategy is, because I don't see any. And the only thing I see from them is vote buying. But I think, Alfred, the other thing I think we should look at is really beyond vote buying, which is the principal conversation we're having this morning. I think we need to look at the messaging of political parties in our democratic conversation. Now, that for me is more compelling a conversation to have than even people giving things to people, because you can give anything you can give even the whole world to someone. If the person doesn't find you to be long-term, to be credible, or to be in a position to meet their needs, they won't vote for you. We've seen this in other instances where people go to delegate elections and they will vote. They will give support to people, and ultimately they will end up losing. You'll recall the very famous words from Sir John that says, "Fear delegate," on the basis of trying to appeal to people in a certain way, and then expect that ultimately they will support you based on what you think you have done for them. It's never 100% situation that once you have served people with a certain good, they will then respond in votes for you. The reason I say that, Alfred, is that here in Asino, I have been here from the start, and I have been following the NDC's campaign. I cannot tell you for the life of me what the NDC is proposing to the people of Asino. Quite simply, I don't see what the NDC is proposing. They don't have anything they are saying here except two things, Alfred. They're lying, blatantly advancing lies in this constituency, and then are just making a situation out of the fact that the law has caught up with the situation. Now, that is more dangerous for me than saying that somebody is trying to persuade people with any good or any service for them to vote for them. And that, for me, for example, and if you're listening, with your expertise on this, that's, for me, a more fundamental conversation. Because why are people going to vote for NDC or NPP? It's on the basis of message. Now, the NDC doesn't have a message. All they have come
Richard,
here to do
I
is
wanted to,
things. Yes.
Okay, what you keep talking about the NDC's message, right? But what is your message? What is your message in the Assin North constituency?
I'll come to our message, but let me just conclude.
No, I mean,
so that,
I just want to move on to because you spent quite some time analyzing the NDC's. You said they don't even have a message, so you are not even analyzing their message. But what's your message, you?
Alfred, I'll get to my message if you let me finish with it. So the point I am trying to make is that let's focus on a conversation on how is it that political parties earn votes. And Alfred, I'm insisting on this because why? We have a crucial election to go to in 2020. And now with Prof talking about the, more or less, if you like, the inevitable duopoly that we have established, the NDC, MPP, one of them is going to win the election in 2024, which I know is going to be the MPP. Now, what is the alternative message for the NDC? They don't have one here, and I see they don't have another. But then in a contest of two people, all right, you might have one win without message. And the danger is that in the event, the very unlikely event the NDC wins, what would be the fate of Ghana? So this conversation for me should be our preoccupation rather than any goods that is being distributed.
Okay,
even
now, well,
evidence.
Richard, you know why we would spend some time. Let me come to a point. Why we will talk about you sharing items there, which is also equally important as compared to the messaging, is that when you use the behavior or misbehavior of sharing items as a way of influencing people's decisions of voting, regardless of the messaging that you give to them, if you now make buying their vote with money and items your preoccupation, no matter what you tell them, it's going to fall on deaf ears. That should be of concern to you as a political party as well. So we would decide that we would talk about the messaging, but the reason why we are even spending time talking about the behavior, the fact that you say it's on both sides is even worse. That you accept that you are actually sinning, but then
I don't think I've said it's on both sides. I've only showed you evidence, and I've sent you videos of what I've seen.
So you are saying you are not sharing anything in the constituency.
I don't know if you have proof of that. Show it, because I've shown you proof of the NDC.
So in fact, we are actually showing videos of what the bags of rice that you talk about. You say you are sharing it to your constituency executives, and fertilizers.
Who
the bags of rice and the fertilizers that you are sharing is to your constituency executives.
Where are we sharing anything? I have not seen any video of us sharing. I've referred to a video of items being packed.
So you don't know that what's happening in Asimbreku. You've not been to Asimbreku.
I've been to Asimbreku.
You haven't given fertilizers to people there. So the videos you are showing is not true.
Alfred, I haven't seen the video you are showing, but I've sent you a video to see.
No, so you are saying that you haven't shared anything in Asimbreku.
Alfred, please.
No, I'm just asking. I'm asking questions.
No,
I'm not doing
questions. I've answered you clearly that I haven't seen. The video I've seen, I've referred to. There's a video of people packing things out of a vehicle in our premises. That is not equal to sharing anything. I just want to be clear on that. But I've shown you a video of a group of people roll calling people and giving them iPhones. But I'm saying to you that even that is not as egregious as not having a political message, which is the thrust of democracy, the proposition to the people. What is it we want to do for the people? That is more egregious, because I've shown you here that giving things to people in the name of trying to buy their votes does not necessarily translate to victory. I've shown you evidence of that. And so my point to you is that let's even set that aside and focus on the core message. Because if you make the assumption, okay, that both sides are actually giving any goods or services to the people to vote for them, at the end of the day, what maintains or what obtains after all these elections is done with is what must be delivered with the power that has been earned. And that's where I think the conversation should be, to say that what is it they are proposing in principle to do
Richard,
or not to do. But that is absent.
Okay,
And
so I've been
quite-
asking this question consistently, and you've been talking for almost 5 minutes. What's your message? What's your message in the Asin North constituency?
Alfred, I'll tell you our message, but you are not allowing me to.
But Richard,
proceed
the last time
Because
I asked you to this question, hold on a bit for me. The last time I asked this question about what your message is was 5 minutes ago. And you've been talking, analyzing the NDC, you're saying they don't have a message. So I don't even know what you're analyzing, but I'm actually asking if you have a message. What message are you giving to the Asin North people? That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll tell you our message. But the point I was just simply making to you is that just allow me to proceed, but you're interrupting, asking questions that does not fall in line with where I'm going. But I'll tell you our message. Our message is quite simple, that in the present situation, the NPP represents a better option in terms of development for the people of Asin North. If you came to Asin North today, I've been here for the period. What the people are talking about is that they want development. One, we will go to campaign rallies or campaign engagement. They tell you that when Honorable Kennedy Japon was their MP, at the time the constituency was one up until 2012 or so when it was divided, they saw visible development. That he himself and government have done a lot of the infrastructure projects. In fact, electricity extension in the Asin North constituency was actually spearheaded by Kennedy Japon when he became MP. At the time, the NDC initiative, self-help initiative to have people invest in the extension of electrification to their communities. He invested in buying 2,000 electricity poles that opened up the Asin enclave. Now, that kind of development is what the people want. So our message to the people is that we are here again to advance development. Now, if you look at the sequence of development at Asin North, when Kennedy Japon was there, development was advancing. When the NDC took over, and Samuel Ambry, development stalled. And these are the feedback from the people. And when Abna Drua came, Honorable Abna Drua came under the NPP from 2016 to 2020, development picked up again. And when you go around, the people point you to the projects that the NPP had done. Now, to date, there isn't any visible NDC MP or NDC project that the people points to when we are here. Now, you just saw yesterday a 31-kilometer road from Praso to Asinfosu. That road has been there. It was done. A lot of development projects here that we are seeing. In total, Alfred, this government has done somewhere about 115 development projects. And I want to tell you, the idea that, okay, well, it's around this election that people are expediting development projects is completely false. About 81 of these 115 projects that I just told you are completed. 81 of them. Now, you don't start those kinds of 81 projects in 30 days in 30 days for which by-elections should be conducted and complete them at the same time. So the idea is that the people want development, and the NPP, based on our history and performance, we come here to tell them that look at what we've done in the past and look at what we have done in the recent past to determine that going forward we'll be able to do more. That is our basic proposition to the people, and that's what we've been advancing. And Alfred, you should have known this because it's self-evident. some of my colleagues have come to your studio to tell you about the development projects that we are doing and we have done in Assinov. And that is our fundamental message, that trust us on the basis of what we have done, that going forward we'll do even more. Now, the NDC doesn't have that, so they've resorted to lies and character assassination and other tricks, to be able to win this election. I believe that they are on the wrong side of the conversation to advance our democracy.
Richard, but thank you. But I've been, because you say you're not seeing the video, I've been showing videos of both sides, what's happening. But then again, you see, I'll come to studio. Lawyer Matt, I'll stay with me. Stay with me.
No, Alfred, there's a question. I just want to say, can you show some of the videos I've sent you?
No, since you are not able to see the videos that we are even showing, you are not seeing. Okay, that's the point. So I'm only saying to you that while you were talking, while you were disputing, and asking me questions about the videos, I was actually showing them while you were talking. So just so you know. But then
I'm looking at Zoom. I can only see the studio.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying to you that you haven't seen those videos. I'm showing those videos.
I give you. I'm seeing and I'm not acknowledging it. I can't see. I can only see you guys in the studio.
Lawyer Martin Pebo. Yes, but stay with me. Lawyer Martin Pebo. So it comes back to the fundamental concern that you were raising earlier. To see, until this by-election, some of the projects were scheduled to be completed later. In fact, government's narrative was that there was no money.
Excellent.
And so these projects were going to be completed at a later date. But every time there's a by-election, magically we find money to complete some of these projects.
Yes.
That and how that dovetails into the conversation of both vote buying and the threat that it poses to our democracy is what we're talking about. Lawyer Martin Pebo.
Yes, yes. I think today we are together on a small bit. I see blue in your shirt and I'm wearing blue 2 years late, okay? So on a lighter note, blue and the red anyway. Okay. Right, so I think I pick up one of the things Richard said, and I think Mr. Basintele also agreed. I mean, we definitely need reforms to be able to stem this vote buying and this and bad. Yeah, okay, yes. We really need to nip it because we can't continue like this. Government said it had no money, and right now as I talk, you know, the individual bondholders Association of Ghana. We are crying. Pensioners are crying. Government is not paid our bonds. You know, yesterday some coupons matured. Government hasn't paid. And yet government took money to go and quickly finish our projects. All this kind of vote buying, it's insulting to us, the rest of the citizenry. You can finish a project well ahead of time just because you want votes there. Then for pensioners and for other citizens who have lent you money, it's time to pay and you won't pay. What kind of this abuse has to stop? It has to stop.
Lawyer, permit me, and you continue. The videos we're showing, this is the MPP. This is the party's office there in Asino, where the rice and fertilizer and other things were being shared, as you see there. So, Mr. Agba, since you're on Zoom, you can actually log up. You can go on TV3 Ghana on Facebook right now. You will see the videos we are streaming, just for your benefit. And then the earlier video as well we showed was the NPP. In fact, the NDC. Let's look at the NDC one as well. The Wellington boots and cutlasses and those things that you see there as well. Yes, those Wellington boots.
That is so unfair.
Those are the two. Yes, people, please. And I'll come to you, Mr. Agba.
Yes, please. So I was just lamenting how government is starving us. They haven't paid us our coupons. Okay?
This is the bond holders.
Yes, we are suffering.
Coupons matured yesterday.
Yes, they haven't paid other maturities for over 3 months now. Government hasn't paid. People are dying. People can't get money to buy their medication. People can't get money to pay school fees, rent, etc. And government is taking this money to go and buy stuff to finish roads and other projects ahead of time. It's so unfair. We just feel like, okay, so we are being treated as second-class citizens. It's like when there's an election, then the electorate there become first-class citizens. People, government, who are second-class citizens. It's just, I mean, I look at it and I'm like, so what have we done to merit this kind of shabby treatment? Why? Use the money to pay people you owe. Cut your coat according to your cloth. You are living beyond your means. You see what happened in the IMF report. You see them saying that too many off-budget projects, etc. Part of the problem that led us into this ditch. And government hasn't heard. How? Why would you go and complete these things ahead of time? Obviously to buy votes. Obviously to buy votes. And that is not on. It's not a democracy. This is just a dictatorship. Because if it were a democracy, you would not be able to take such money to go and complete these projects ahead of time when you owe citizens. And when citizens need that money to be able to feed, and so you are starving citizens, you are killing citizens to go and build roads or construct roads for other citizens. That's not how development is done. That is not development. This is just a dictatorship. President Kufuor, like we just said, he doesn't know anything about governance. He just rode on slogans, and today you see how the whole system is just, exposing him. Who does that? You owe citizens. Citizens are hungry. Citizens can't get food to eat. And then you take that money to go and buy votes. Listen, good father does such a thing. Who? And so point number 2. You know, many people have written about this vote buying phenomenon. And we've agreed over and over, I think across the table, we all agree that it has to stop. But who will take the initiative? Who will take the initiative? Can the political parties just see through that? Look, let's debate on ideas. You can't continue to use money to buy votes like this. It's not sustainable. So you do this, and then the next moment you say you are fighting corruption. What corruption are you fighting? Well, in natural fact, you've been fostering it. Because it's clear that usually a huge chunk of our corruption starts right from the elections. Yeah, because if you go through the, even let me say, documented research papers, the CDD, the last time they came out with their research, they said it takes at least $100 million to conduct a presidential election. That's to prosecute a presidential election. That's for the parties. Obviously, like we fall.
It's a conservative figure.
Exactly.
It definitely is higher than.
Yeah, extremely conservative. Because I have seen meetings. I've been near places where you even see some contractors alone volunteering to donate $100 million, $50 million, $70 million, not Ghana. So when you say, but that's another matter. So, but the point is that is this vote buying an extremely high cost of running our elections that entrenches corruption? Because the businessman who is funding this thing, he's not Father Christmas. No, the businessmen who are funding this thing, they are not Father Christmas. They are doing it so that when you come into office, they will recoup what they've given you. Yes, that's the whole idea. And they recoup multiple times. So seeing this rise and other things on the what do you call it, those vehicles, it just tells you that no, the people who have donated this, they are just waiting. It's just a few months down the line, they will take contracts to more than compensate for what they have donated
invested or giving.
Yes, that's the thing. And so it ties in once again. You know, sometimes when I'm coming here, I look for these things that have happened in the past and all that, and I'll just bring what I think I want to tie in here is with a statement by the Duncan Williams, because every day we keep complaining about these things and governments are not changing. We are just sowing the seeds for civil uprising and all that. Yes, because when we get tired of talking here, the next time you see, like the things in the nature of the Arab Spring. Yes, that's what he said. 4 years ago, Duncan Williams, just before the 2020 elections. And he says the presiding Archbishop and General Overseer of the Action Chapel International Ministry, Nicholas Duncan Williams, says the animosity in African politics and high levels of youth unemployment are setting up the stage for chaos. He predicts an uprising akin to the Arab Spring after 2020 in West Africa if political leaders do not deliver on their mandate. So let me look at the exact way. It says, look, I'm predicting by divine authority, after 2020 going, if things don't change, there will be an uprising, a civil uprising on the continent of Africa. You see the Arab Spring uprising, that is the wind of that is a wind coming to Africa and to West Africa if something is not done. We go on and on. It's the context is that it's talking about this kind of politics that we all know, look, this thing is wrong. It's against the law. You know, in the representation of people's law. Yes, it says no, don't treat voters. Don't buy votes. Don't. And this is a law that we've had since representation of people's law. I think it's 1989. Yeah, the year. I can always check on the link. So this is a law that's more than 30 years old. And every time we will honor it in breach more than in observing it. So you see what Duncan Williams is talking about. These things we have to change. Change. You can't do this vote by it. That's not it. Rather, what you've been called upon is to think outside the box to solve the problems of unemployment. Solve the problems of unemployment. You are not, because you don't have what it takes. You can't think outside the box. All you know is to take money to go and entice poor citizens that vote for me today. As for the larger problem of unemployment, well, push kicking this can down the road. Yes, always kicking the can down the road. Meanwhile, all our national security documents on the Ghana show that youth unemployment is a ticking time bomb. You see, so this small thinking by buying votes, it's sad. It's sad. I don't know where we want to go. Maybe somebody in our scene there should be brave enough to go lodge a complaint with the police so that we can use the law, because those are criminal offenses under the representation.
I see, but to the extent that even though the law is against it, politicians are breaking this law with impunity.
Yeah.
It's working for them. Nothing is happening, and they're getting away with it. What should the response of the citizenry be? Because if you are expecting a politician to change his ways, for as long as it's working for them, even though they are breaking this law you have just quoted, we would only just be wishing something that will never happen. So, on the part of the electorate as well, at a point, we were told to look at our situation and vote. I mean, at this time, we've evolved where there's a lot more about expectation of what the politician can give to me to cast my vote in a certain way. So for the people, the electorate, should there be a change in expectation, because the politician will not change? This misbehavior of trying to influence the decision of voters by giving them money or items or projects, overnight projects and so on.
Yeah, the politician will change if the citizens act wisely. So in this case, as you said, the first part of your question is that what should we do? What we should do is that, look, those who have received these items in Asen North, some of them, at least even if 3, or minimum even 1, should be bold enough to take those items to a police station and to lodge a complaint that, look, this is what Party X has given me, whether it's NDC or MPP, that the citizens should go make a complaint. Then let's go into it. Because, you see, citizens, you see why we are enablers, we are facilitators. Yeah, we are complicit. You have taken the items, but nothing stops you to go to a report that, look, I want to give up these items. I want to lodge a complaint that, look, this is what Party X has given me on the basis that I should vote for them. Then we can trigger a criminal prosecution. If we are not willing to report, we won't get far. Because like I said that last weekend, they've said it over and over, that madness is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So we'll come here, undertake tongue lashing, we will lash politicians by our tongues, but they know, they have thick skin. They know, oh, they will say colloquially, ehurua ebejo. Yeah, when we say, look, ehurua ebejo, oh, give it 1 week, it will pass. Give it 2 weeks, it will pass. We shouldn't let it pass. So look, I'm calling on citizens in Asen North, those who have received these items, at least, even one of you, at least just one of you, should go to the police station, lodge a complaint, and then let's see what the police can do.
Great. Pastor Jampo, in a minute on this. I mean, maybe we'll probably be shouting to the wind if we're expecting that a politician may change on this. But for the electorates as well, maybe in a minute, what should the action or reaction be to the action of the politician?
Well, the point is that voters must know that if you allow your vote to be bought, you've also sold your representation. Now, representation is essentially explained in terms of acting in a manner responsive to constituent interest. Now, if a politician comes to you and gives you those handouts, you should remember that he may have taken a loan to procure those handouts. Once he gets elected, he must find a way of recouping the money to defray the loan. And so long as he's not been able to recoup the money to defray the loan, he's not going to be interested in doing anything beneficial in improving your lots in the constituency. So I believe that voters must appreciate that they are worth more than the 10 cedis and 5 kilograms rice and T-shirts that are distributed to them. They should be thinking about how they can push their members of parliament to champion developmental projects like road construction, like attracting government interest in the constituency, said that you may have hospitals, clinics, health posts being constructed for you, and then other developmental projects that will benefit all. You should be thinking about this. But if you go and you are interested in those minor or small handouts, you've sold your birthright. And that's how come sometimes politicians or members of parliament become very arrogant in their relation with constituents. Because what do you want again? I've already paid you. I paid you to vote for me. And so there is no relationship. But that undermines the essence of representation. You don't have to take money from a would-be or a parliamentary aspirant hopeful. You don't have to take money from, so that the person becomes burdened to serve and to project your interest. But if he pays you, he's already bought your vote. He's already. Some people feel that they are not entitled to. They are not supposed to be doing anything in terms of representation or anything in terms of building, helping to construct infrastructure for their constituent. And it's simply because they've already purchased or bought their way, through the process.
Prof. Jampo, appreciate your time. Now, thank you. Now, we need to move on to the next. Today is the last day, in fact, for the filing of the nomination of the NPP flag bearer hopefuls. And throughout the week, we've seen a lot of activity at the party headquarters. Kwabena Agyapong, Kennedy Agyapong all filed their nominations this week, together with a few others as well. Richard Ahiagba, if you can hear me, yes, if you can put your video on, great. Now, you are in Asin North, but I know you are still monitoring the happenings, today being the last day for the filing of nominations. So far, how many people have successfully returned their forms and cleared to contest ahead of the special delegates, the voting to reduce the numbers to 5?
Thank you, Alfred. I was trying to draw attention about some exception I took to Lawyer Kwebu's submission, but he didn't allow me. I think that we should try and keep the conversation and references to the presidency to a level that is appreciable by all. The characterization of the president by a lawyer, I take very strong exception to. And I don't want to go into it as to mention or repeat what he said. I just want to make that appeal. The key issue about
yes,
Alfred, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Well, the matter about nomination and filing subsequently. The last time I checked, I think before today, I think it was 8 people have successfully filed, but I'm pretty sure By the close of today, we'll have a final on that, the count of people who filed their nominations successfully, and then we'll be in line for the vetting, which they would commence right after the Assin by-election. I think the processes are very well defined. From here, given at least with what we know now to be the number that has filed, 8 at least, that triggers the process for the special delegates election or special electoral college to decide 1 to 5 to actually go to the delegate conference for the final selection. That will happen on the 26th of August, all things being equal. So for me, I think that our constitution is clear on what we must do, and then we'll uphold it to the letter.
I see. Now, we were showing on the screen the candidates who have, or the people who have filed their nomination successfully. In fact, the number is 9 out of the 11. Yes, just that's the update, because Francis Adainimo submitted yesterday, so that brings the number to 9. But let's take a listen to Kwabena Agyapong, something that, in fact, he said. And then also some of the people who, yes, so these are the people who have so far filed. Dr. Bawumia, Kojo Pokun Safwa, Alan Kojo Chamantin, Kennedy Ohene Agyapong, also Freya Koto, and then also we have a few more who have also filed, at least from what we checked from the parties. Francis Adainimo. So we have Jogati and one Odeneho Nana Opong who are yet to file their nomination. Those are the 2, correct?
Yeah.
I see.
But I'm pretty sure if they are determined to move on, they will do that by close of day today.
By close of day today. So this is the deadline.
Yes, they still have, exactly.
I see. Take us through the electoral college, the special electoral college, to reduce the numbers to 5. And you say it's going to be in August, but how's that going to work?
Well, so the determination, I think, will be discussed. There's some conversation as to whether it should be done all together in assembly or be done on a regional basis. But purely what it is that it's a mini Congress, right, with a certain category of people to vote, not the entire college. So you have people from maybe the national executive, the regional executive committee. They have representation, I think 3 each from the foreign branches. From the wings, there's a representation, 3 from each wing. So that constitutes a certain body of voters who then screen the total number. If it ends up being 11, screen those people. And then the 1 through 5, those, from 1 to 5, those who obtain the largest vote, then eventually becomes the 5 that moves on to the actual Grand Congress to be voted on as the flag bearer of the party. So anyone amongst the 5 who obtain at least 51% or more of the votes would then be the inevitable candidate of the party. So the delegates, the Special Electoral College, as discussed, is just a mini. It's a subset of the General Electoral College that is given the power to select who our flag bearer becomes. And I think that everything, once the determination is made as to how it should be organized, whether as a Congress where everybody is present in one place to vote, or organized on regional basis, even then, if we have to come together, vote along regional lines, I think that we should be able to go through that process without much event. And ultimately in November, I think on November 4th, we'll be able to decide amongst the 5 who should represent our party in the 2024 elections.
Okay. Now, I listened to some of the aspirants when they are submitting their forms. They all keep raising the issue about fairness and that the playing field must be fair to ensure that no particular candidate is favored and so on. Alan Martin said it. Kwame Japan said it. Kojo Pokun Safwa said it. They've all repeated it the same way. I mean, why is there that particular suspicion on the part of these people that there could be some unfairness created for certain candidates? If you listen to the consistency in their statement, or a number of them that I've just mentioned.
Thank you, Alfred. I think there isn't any suspicion on their part when they say so. It is only for good measure that they make those comments. And I think that is in order. We should make that comment. In fact, all of them should make that comment, and all of us should make that comment. It is only to ensure that as we move along, we ensure that we are upholding the principles of democracy, not because it's not been upheld, but it's because that we're reminding ourselves and they are reminding all of us that we should strive to achieve that ideal. And so really, it's not on the basis of any manifest unfairness, but it is only for good measure when they make that point.
I want to take a listen to Kwame Japan now, and I'll come back in studio. Take a listen.
Party as well as Ghanaians when you, in case you win as Black Mirror?
First and foremost, I think we have an honest duty as a country to reorient ourselves, to recalibrate our values, okay? And I want to lead a lean government machinery, effective, efficient, that delivers to the satisfaction of the Ghanaian people, and also to impose law, order, and discipline, and goes with a drastic penalty regime to make it unattractive for potential offenders. You have the political will to take the difficult decisions that the country needs to be able to move forward. And that's why I'm here. We need a new dawn. We've had 16 years, the leadership of President Akufo-Addo and his vice Bawumia. 16 years, a very long time. And I think the party and the country deserves a new dawn, a new dimension, a new direction, with new energies, a new face that will be able to reconnect with the Ghanaian people and restore the confidence that Ghanaians have in constitutional democracy. That is what I represent. And I'm a very multi-layered individual, trained in the ethos of this political tradition right from 1992. I've worked with all the leaders of our party, Dubois, President Kufuor, and now President Akufo-Addo. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Today I filed my nomination forms. It's a significant milestone on an inspired journey.
Well, that's Kwame Japan there. And I know that, Malik, even though this is an NPP's matter, you're also peeping in there because it's definitely a matter of interest to you. But, and whoever emerges to contest, now you know your flag bearer, John Mahama, going forward. Quickly, Malik, on this.
Right. First of all, let me congratulate those who've already filed their nominations, and those who are yet to, we wish them the best. I have monitored all persons who are seeking to lead the New Patriotic Party. What they should have behind their minds, first of all, is that they are going to meet a man who utilized the taxpayers' resources efficiently in growing the economic fortunes of this country. They are going to meet a man who used the resources of this country to build the Terminal 3, a man who used the resources of this country to build the KJTR market, to build the Ridge Hospital, to build the whole airport, to build the Tamale Airport, to build the Bolgatanga Hospital, to build the Tamale Hospital, and many other things that the good people of this country dearly appreciate on a daily basis. I have looked at the prospects of all those who are seeking to lead the NPP. And to start with, one, Dr. Bawumia, Abba, this is a man we know. This is a man we have seen. This is a man we have heard. This is a man who has been given the opportunity of leading the economic management team of this country. This is a man who was the conductor when this paralyzed economy was being driven in a wheelbarrow to the IMF. This is a man who virtually, has lost control and grips of the economic situation in this country. And such a person comes up front again, seeking the mandate to lead the New Patriotic Party. And at large, the nation. I think the good people of this country are discerning enough. The people of this country have already experienced. And I'll come back to him. The second is a very respectable man, Alan Choromante. We've known his track record. In fact, recently, there's been some back and forth by his successor, who claims that the 60 factories figure that was put out there by the then Minister Alan Choromante were not true, and that only 48 were available. And so many other things in that sector. Largely, he grew the sector by a paltry 6.5%. This man was in the wheelbarrow when they were being dragged to the IMF. And for 4 good years, the manufacturing fortunes of this country could not be used to salvage the economic situation, even though this man, was at the helm of affairs. The third, Dr. Akoto Osei, the former Greek minister, who is now convincing us. And I listened to his speech. I shook my head and I looked up and I said, oh God of Nazareth. This man who has derailed the agri sector to the extent that just 2022, $22 billion, $2 billion, I beg your pardon, was used in importing agricultural products to supplement our local production. This man who has superintended over a decline in cocoa production in this country, not to talk of rice feed, poultry feed, not to talk of prices of commodities in the market. And this man suddenly tells us that he has the keys to bringing us out of the IMF program. I listened to him. He says we should vote for him. He knows the solution. Just because he was in the wheelbarrow when it was being driven, when the paralyzed economy was being taken to the IMF, he decided to jump off or jump out at some point in time. He stands there and he looks at it at the doorstep and he says, I have a way of making a U-turn and bringing us back. I'm surprised.
What is your superior message that you're bringing?
All these people. And I can go on and on and on. That is not to say that we don't have some great guys out there. Unfortunately, the great ones among them are not even closer to the league. In fact, they are not even on bench, not to talk of getting an opportunity of leading. In all service, there are some, 1 or 2 people out there who are very, respectable. People, we know them, we know what they have done. In fact, some were even were driven out of the party at some point in time. We have some great guys there, but they aren't closer to the league. I'm speaking of those who are closer, those who may be given the opportunity and using their track record to judge what new they'll be bringing on board. Look, surprisingly, Alfred, it turns out that all these people who were part of the people who recklessly managed this economy, who recklessly took us to the IMF, who recklessly misused our resources, are all preaching change. Have you listened to their messages? Dr. Bawumia himself, surprisingly, is preaching change. I said, hey, you are still vice president. You still have an opportunity of resolving the economic woes of this country. You are telling us that by being vice president, you cannot do it. By being the head of economic management team, you cannot do it. We should give you an opportunity of being commander-in-chief, who will not even chair the economic management team, to salvage the economic situation. I'm surprised. Dr. Bawumia is preaching change.
You said he's taking Ghana to the next level.
He's preaching change. If your government had performed in 2012, why? When President Mahama was taken from being a vice president to being our candidate, he didn't preach change. He preached continuation. And if you remember, we had the Better Ghana agenda. We had a continuation in 2012. Okay. His message was that we had done so well, we were proud of our track record, and he was only coming to continue. Why is it that for the first time in history, you have presidential aspirants of that same political party? You have a whole vice president, current vice president, who seeks to lead the party, already preaching change. I thought change was a message for opposition parties. For the first time, parties in government. So we may have 2 political parties, Professor Jabo, in 2024, all preaching change, and we may all use ESSM. And this may be the first time this will happen in this economy.
Thank you.
Well, I think the party has assembled all the.
Am I wrong?
You have quite a number of people wanting to lead the party in the position of flag bearer in the lead up to the 2024 presidential elections. Well, it's good for them. They filed their nominations and all have gone well, except that I had a few things to say over the week. I realized that, you know, as some were filing the nominations, some turned the venue with a lot of people, and then the venue was almost turned into, if you like, a campaign rally. But others also went there peacefully and quietly. Some also went there with a lot of people, but they didn't address them in the party at the party headquarters. I believe that the top echelons of the party shouldn't have allowed the situation where a lot of people will come to the headquarters and then people would address them. You cannot go and hold a party rally at the offices or the premises of the Electoral Commission. You can't do that. Okay, so the top echelons of the party now are the independent arbiters. They are supposed to be neutral, paving the way for all to come and file. And then, yes, they would vote, but their own constitution forbids them from taking clear stands. So I thought that they shouldn't have allowed the party premises headquarters to have been used for campaign. Otherwise, it creates a certain perception of you allowing certain things to go on for one or two candidates and not also allowing it for the others. My admonition to the top echelons of the MPP is for them to manage this process, because it promises to be keenly competitive, just like the sin of by-election. And so they should manage it in a very competent and a very fair manner, such that the playing field will be seen by all to be level. Because, look, political parties that are intact have been unable to break the 8. And so if you are seeking to break the 8, then you cannot go into that contestation when you are bruised. What I see, or what I anticipate, that I believe most of them have not thought about, is the likelihood or the possibility for factions to break away from the party should the level become uneven, should the field become uneven. People may break away. And the galaxy of stars that are contesting for these elections, they are not like the other personalities that have sought to form, create or form third forces in Ghana's electoral politics. I am saying that if Dr. Bawumia feels that the level playing field, the field is not level enough and he breaks away, he will take a chunk of the MPP following him. Similarly, if Kennedy Japan feels that the field is not even and he decides to break away, he would take a chunk of MPP support base, he would reach out even to NDC, take some support, he would go to floaters and then take some support. And then also, if Alan Shermanton decides to break away, he will take a huge chunk of the support base of the MPP, appeal to floaters, appeal to business community, appeal to even some people from the NDC. And so these people, the stars seeking to serve, be elected or to be given the nod as flag bearers, they are people of pedigree who would easily be able to break away and will get following. And when they do so, who suffers? Is the party that is seeking to break the 8 that suffers. And so my admonition to them is that let the top echelons of the party who seek to manage this process be seen to be level-headed. Let them create a level playing field. Let them be neutral. Let them go according to the dictates of their own constitution. The practice where regional chairmen will be massing up and be declaring support for one party or the other is naive, is childish. And so, and this is not how the forebearers of the party manage the party. I'm talking about the days of the BJ Darochas, the days of the Ude sites, the Alajetes, the Damboches, the Ejenim Watten. This is not how they manage the party. They manage the party with a certain credibility, with a certain repute, with a certain sense of fairness, such that they commanded respect from all. But the latter-day saints, some of them, not all of them, some of the latter-day saints who are manning the party have been politically naive. And if you look at their conduct, their conduct and their actions and their utterances, these tend to easily betray them as having taken sides. And in my view, if they continue on that tangent, they will break the party, and it's a party that will bleed at the end of the day. The quest to break the 8, if care is not taken, Eberton assume.
Right. Well, Martin Bebo on this, and maybe very quickly, I'll round up with.
Maybe I'm wondering which side to. Okay, the whole process. Well, I think last week I made this point that looking at the way the MPP has dashed our hopes, and that's putting it very mildly, led us a reverse. We went a reverse year. We took 2 steps forward, 2017, 2018, a bit of 19, because of the IMF program that hugely helped, and the oil find. But after that, you saw that by the end of 2019, the World Bank stroke IMF report showed that our economy was distressed. Okay, and the point I'm making is that leadership is everything. Yes. So if your leaders don't have what it takes, they don't have that ability to be able to think outside the box, to be able to solve the problem, then we are doomed. So the point is that all these persons who have lined up, they've been around. They couldn't help the president, and if they couldn't help, what I mean is that, yes, we're part of the system, apart from Kwabena J. Japan, okay, who wasn't part, he was booted out with Chairman Afuku and then Sami Crab, right? So the Kunedu Aprekutu hasn't been, but there are a number of them who were close to the president. They couldn't help, and the main person, the main protagonist.
Some of them have admitted that some things could have been done differently, and an attempt to sort of
disassociate themselves. Oh, it's too late in the day. The horses have bolted. The horses have bolted. So for us as citizenry, or as citizens, non-aligned to any political party, floating voters, the verdict is one and simple, that all of them together couldn't help this country transform. Once they couldn't help transform the economy, they all have to go away together with President Kufuor. It's simple. That's just it. Because look, the main thing we needed to do to change this economy, we said what? You see, Mr. Basinti referred to it. Agreed. We needed to be able to set our farms, produce our own rice, oil, fish, poultry, etc., so that we will stop the huge importation. 7 years down the line, 6.5, virtually 7, President Kufuor and these aspirants have not been able to do it. So that means that's the end of the road for them. This simple thing, let's create farms. You see, when President Mahama was in office, he used to have a farm. He had a farm. I expected that Bawumia would have a farm. That's one thing I've been agonizing about privately. I'm like, this vice president has such a huge influence. These businesses, you beg them to come help you create farms for this young person. It should have worked. By now, you'd have seen how farming would have caught on. It's easy. You can't think outside the box. He's rather jumped onto digitalization and digitization. I'm like, come on. Easy. We have so many hundreds of thousands of arable lands. All he needed to do was to set up, ask companies to come and donate. They set up farms. Then Saturdays, he himself will go, young people leading the people to, engage in agriculture. We'll grow our own perfume rice here. We'll have our own poultry, etc. Practically. Okay. Bawumia lacks it, so please, that's the end of it.
Are you saying that digitalization is not important? It hasn't added another layer of development to our quest as a country, and at least the advantages that we've seen all around?
It's helped a bit, but that one started long before he came in. It's a UN development initiative for digitalization. I was in Washington in 2019. I met people from the UN, and there's a blueprint. Yeah, so they, oh no, come on, this is something that's been in the offing for about over 20 years now. I met people from the UN who are in charge of this, and they coordinate all over the world. Look, digitalization is not a baby of Bawumia. Please, let's stop kidding ourselves. No, I met people from Washington at the UN. You go there, there's a unit at the UN that all over the world they help coordinate, they push money. So during the previous administration, you help court computerization projects and all that. The UN helps. It's not Bawumia's baby, please. The original one we expect is that look.
So you don't credit him with the leadership and trying to.
The leadership is not too useful. That we need him to help create farms, unemployment immediately, unemployment, arable lands here. Come on, we are starting. You see the rainy season, and by now we have a 50,000 acre farm. Companies will come and donate. You see young people, these unemployed people on the farms immediately. This digitalization, how many jobs immediately?
Lawyer Martin Kpebu is a leader of one of 3 individual bondholder groups. He's a private legal practitioner as well. Malik Basintale, thank you. The Deputy Director of Communications of the NDC. Also, Richard Ahiagba couldn't join us in studio, but he's been with us for most part of the second and third conversation on Zoom from the Asin North constituency, giving us a real detail of what's happening on the ground. Director of Communications of the NPP, Richard, thank you so much for connecting with us. Really appreciate your time. And then also to you, our viewers, thank you so much. I am Alfred Akansi. Have a great weekend.
Richard is begging for